Good morning. This is Kathleen Griffin. It is 9 a.m. on Monday, March 22nd, and these are the Board of Assessment Appeal hearings in Conference Room 3.
Welcome to My One Number. If you are the host, press star now. Otherwise, please wait, and you will be joined into the conference. Please announce yourself.
Kathleen Griffin.
Hi, Kathleen, Tom Dolan, Kevin Patel, and Kevin O'Neill are on.
Kevin Patel, Tom Dolan, and Kevin O'Neill.
Correct.
Great. Well, welcome. Good morning. I'm Kathleen Griffin. I'm one of 9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals, and I am here to hear your appeal this morning, and you are being recorded. So,
excellent.
Great. And I'm going to read a few things into the record for you, so please correct me if any of this is wrong. Your appeal number is 383. The property address is 100 Kings Highway Cutoff. The owner of the property is BlackRock Acquisition, LLC. The town has the property valued at $4,052,000, and you're requesting a reduction to $1,900,000. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. The assessment, I believe, is. Do you have the assessment at $4,052,000, or is that the full market?
That's the full market value. Is $4,052,000.
Excellent. So we're on the same page that we'll be talking full market value, and that we're taking out any context to the 70% equalization.
That's correct. Yeah. So you're speaking to $1,900,000 appraised value, correct?
Correct. Appraised value is our
market value. Right. Not the 70%.
Right.
Okay, great. So then the next thing I'm just going to do is have you state your names for the record and whether you are the owners or the authorized agents appearing on behalf of the owner.
Thank you. Good.
So,
Do you want me to read it?
Kevin, why don't you go first?
Yes, my name is Kevin Patel. My exact name on the record is Kirti Kumar Patel, and I'm the owner of the property. One of the owner of the property. BlackRock Acquisition LLC is the ownership entity, and Kevin O'Neill, that advisory company we hire to represent us.
Okay. And so can the others state their names, please?
KIR. Okay, sorry.
My name is Tom Dolan, and I am one of the authorized representatives.
Okay.
And Kevin O'Neill, also an authorized representative.
Okay, and now I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand, even though I can't see you, and I will swear you in. So, do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Yes, I do.
I do. Yes.
Heard all three. Okay, great. So now's your opportunity to tell me, and I will, to the board of provide your testimony as to why you believe the market value of the property should be $1,900,000 and not the $4,052,000 that the town has on the property.
Thank you. I'll take the lead on it. This is Tom Dolan. Thank you all for allowing us the opportunity to speak in front of the board. We know it's not required for the board to hear it in Connecticut, but considering circumstances, we do appreciate that. We'll start by mentioning that when we looked at this particular hotel, that we valued it based on an income capitalization approach, which is the most accurate and reflective approach to valuation for an income-producing property. And given that the town has gone through a recent revaluation as of October 1, 2020, which was in the heat of the COVID pandemic and the impact that it's had on hotels, we felt it appropriate to file an appeal on this one, as they had not filed in the past under the previous 5-year cycle. So, and part of the reason that we believe the market value is going down is primarily related to income, and the income has dropped substantially from pre-pandemic to post-pandemic. And as we all know, as we've all seen on the news, hotels were been devastated across the country from valuation date. Connecticut, because of its 5-year reval cycle, is revals as of October 1st, 2020. And at that time, that's the point in time, the date of value that any income leading up to that would be reflective of market value. The income, which is located on page 2 of the handout, and definitely can you confirm that the board has a copy of this?
Yes, there's a couple different, I'm not sure what happened here. Maybe 2 copies got put in. So let me just see if I have the right one. I have the property card in the folder. What is this? This might be more information. Yes. It says, Dear Board of Assessors, and then it has the occupancy average rate. Is that the document you're referring to? And then J. Brahmani, MAA, Inc., Profit and Loss Statement, October 2018-19, and then October 19 to 20. Is that the document you're referring to?
Yeah, then we also have the objection letter as well.
I'm sorry, what did you call it?
The objection letter, the document starts to your Board of Assessors.
Yeah, the content to follow represents the rationale for objection to the full market value.
Correct.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the page you're speaking to? Yes, we do have that.
Yeah. So on page 2 of that document shows 2 income statements. One on the left called unadjusted income, and the one on the right, which is adjusted income.
Okay, give me one second. The pages aren't numbered for me, so I just want to make sure. Okay, page 2. I see. Yep.
Yep. Sorry.
That's okay.
So it looks like a bunch of numbers, P&L with some rooms, food and beverage, and so forth down.
Mm-hmm.
The left-hand side is the is the actual income of the subject property for the time period leading up to October 1 of 2020. And the statement on the right is the adjusted P&L. And when we do adjustments, we do back out the property taxes. So there's four highlighted cells where we back out the property taxes. And we add in a management fee and a reserve for replacement. The reflected income after we've made these adjustments are $198,749, and the income prior to these adjustments is $207,347. On the next page to follow, there's a table that's called direct capitalization.
Yes.
And we've taken the adjusted net income of $198,749, and we've applied a capitalization rate to it of 10% plus the effective tax rate to effectuate the taxes, also called the loaded cap rate, which comes to 11.88. The assessor probably familiar with some of this. Some of the board members may not.
Yes.
But
I have a quick question for you. Did you calculate this? I am seeing, different commercial properties are presenting cap rates of 8, 7, different ones. I haven't heard 10 yet. So I'm just curious to know, did you do these calculations at all at any other cap rate other than 10?
No, we did not.
Okay.
And so on an asset class, hotels, given this perfect example, and the risk that comes with hotels, they generally range from anywhere from 200 to 400 basis points above, say, office. And when I say basis points, I say 2% to 4% above other property classes. For example, a piece of land on a land lease, that cap rate might be a 6 or a 7.
Okay.
Guaranteed income, they pay it. Cap rate on an office might be 7 or 8. And so hotels, being the riskiest type of real estate, would be anywhere from 10 to 12%.
Okay, got it. And I have not heard any hotels yet. There's not many in Fairfield, so you're correct. I was hearing office space and, restaurants and all of that so far. Okay.
Yes, yeah. So the way we look at it in any, you could kind of take this same scenario and take the 198 and move it down to an 8% capitalization rate or 12% capitalization rate, and that, when you go down, the income, the valuation will go up. And when you go up, it'll go down. So we tried to use something in the middle for valuation. I know in Connecticut that with the 5-year reval cycle and having addressed this in other towns, and when we're in mid-cycle right now and we're filing an appeal, we know the rules are that we have to appeal the date of value of the original grand list revaluation, not this year. Likewise, when at the beginning of the cycle, like we are in this particular town, we have to look at this point in time and what we feel this property would sell for today in the open market if Mr. Patel wanted to go sell his property. In other words, what's somebody going to pay for it as of this date? And that's what they really look at, is the income that's been producing in the last year, any future potential income. And adjustment, this is going to be a long road back for hotels. This is not a 1-year flip. This is a 5-year charge back at its historic valuations. Mm-hmm. And so when we look at it, we want it to reflect as of this point in time. And so that's why we chose the cap rate. That's why we used the income. And Mr. Patel was one of the fortunate ones to actually have had income at all.
Right.
And let alone, a couple $100,000 here.
Right. Okay, so just a couple questions for you, if you have a second. I just want to make sure. It looks like you went from a per room rate of $33,000 to $27,000, right? That's what you have on the sheet here.
That's our range. Yeah.
That's your range. Okay. Then another question. On page 4, it does say you feel that the fair market value is $1,800,000, but you had said in the form you filled out at the beginning that it's $1,900,000. So are you changing it to $1,800,000, or you're keeping it at the $1,900,000?
Well, we generally try to look at ranges, and as you can see, the two different approaches that we use here, one of them comes up with $1.6 million, and the other one comes up at close to $2 million. So both 1.8 and 1.9 are in within that range. So either or, I mean, 1.8 is one number. I don't remember when we originally submitted the appeal form, we may have put 1.9. And then when we've done the valuation, it probably slid down a little bit.
Okay, so because
we're comfortable with the 1.9.
You're comfortable with the 1.9. Okay, only because the state statute requires appellants to name a value, and we also, when we make our motions and all of that before the board, we want to make sure we're accurately representing what you're requesting, and sometimes the paperwork doesn't match. So we just want to make sure, we know what the number is. So you're comfortable with the 1.9? That's where you want to stay there, or you wanted to go to 1.8, somewhere what you said?
No, we're comfortable with the 1.9.
We're going to stay at 1.9. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We understand that it's necessary to be fair. There's not really any other hotels in this municipality, so it's hard to look at comparable assessments or sales. Sales occur on hotels every day, and a hotel sale is different than an office or a multifamily.
Right.
Everybody's got different zoning and so forth, so they have different economics.
Okay.
We don't really have that here.
Sure, and then I just lost my train of thought. Oh, I should have asked you this at the very beginning. Can you just describe the property for me? Sometimes it's, everyone hears, especially anybody who's listening, just hears 100 Kings Highway cutoff. I know it's a hotel. Is that the Best Western?
That is the Best Western.
The Best Western, okay.
The Black Rock, Best Western Black Rock.
Best Western Black Rock. And how many rooms are in the hotel?
58 rooms.
58 rooms? Okay. Just some perspective so I can present to that's what I thought that was it, because there's only, the Fairfield Motor Inn and another one up on Black Rock, way up Black Rock Turnpike up by the Merritt. So I just want to make sure. Okay. Best Western.
58 rooms, two-story interior corridor.
Right.
Built in the late 50s.
Okay. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think our the write-up there provides a little bit of context.
Yes, it definitely does.
Yeah.
And how you came to your numbers. Yeah.
And how we came to our numbers. We would like, the cost approach is pretty hard on this, given the age of the property. It is, would you say, built in 1958?
You said 50s, late 50s, yeah. Okay, and my only other question, most of our commercial properties did sign up and have an informal hearing with Chris Kieran of the Revaluation Company. Did you have an informal hearing?
Kevin, did you have an informal hearing?
No, we didn't. I apologize. I didn't know that was an option. We would have liked to do that if that's still possible.
That's typically when the reval comes out, I believe, Kevin, and that would have been prior to Mr. Patel hiring us. But Kevin Patel, did you have that option or opportunity?
No, not that as far as I know.
Yeah, that's okay. It's just because he did review each property and he does a lot of commercial valuations. He did review each property individually and did do some adjustments for those that were, in particularly affected by COVID. And, that's, as opposed to the board, he's the one who has much more expertise in it. Unfortunately, the informal hearings ended, in mid-January, and the assessor signed the grand list at the end. So the only adjustments right now have to be made by the board, or through court. But I can certainly see if there isn't a way that Mr. Kieran, in behalf of the board, can take a look at your paperwork and give us some indication of, what he might have done had you had an informal hearing. I don't want to say we can do that, because otherwise we would be offering that to all of the residents who, also didn't have informal hearings. But given that he has an expertise in that area, I'm suggesting that he may be willing to give us some indication.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And one thing that we did note that the valuation actually went up from the historical year to the current not very much, I don't believe, but was just curious also on why he would have increased it, given the really the public outcry from hotel owners across the country, and how much they've suffered. In some cases, they had to shut down altogether.
Yes, I know. It's been really tough.
So the logic didn't make sense to us.
Yeah, and I don't see your field card in here. So, oh, there it is. Yeah, to really know what happened from one year to the next, whether it was, I need to know whether your landline, I know that real estate in general went up, so I don't know whether it was the land valuation or, how they came up with your new number. But I do see that it was, that you had some increase. Now, it doesn't look like a lot.
It wasn't a lot.
It was $2,784,000, right, prior, and now I'm talking assessed because on the card it only shows the assessed for the prior years, and then it went to $2,083,836. So it went up a little bit, but not a lot. So, okay. All right. If there's anything else you want to tell me, but I think, the paperwork stands for itself, and the fact that you didn't have an informal hearing is important. And if not, I will read you a concluding statement.
Thank you. I don't have anything further unless Kevin or Kevin has something.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Good. Okay. So I'll be presenting your...
I just one thing to put on record, if they want, we have a couple of articles that just says that the hotel industry is not expected to recover until at least 4 to 5 years from now. So it's going to be a slow recovery for the hotel. So this isn't just a blip where next year he's going to be worth his full value again.
Right. It's hard with the commercials, right? Because once you go taken down, we pretty much keep you down for 5 years. So the adjustment, it's hard with businesses and things change, especially when it comes to the real estate.
Yeah.
So trying to figure out how that all works. But that hotels, are 4 to 5. So if you want to submit that article, you're certainly welcome to send that to the assessor's office. Yeah, the email is BAA for Board of Assessment Appeals @fairfieldct.org. And just put your appeal number 383 in the subject line of the email, and then that will be added to your online file, for the rest of the board to look at. Okay, so
thank you.
You're welcome. So, like I said, I'll be presenting your petition to a majority of the board at a deliberation session for consideration and vote. You'll be notified by mail of the board's decision within 7 days. All decisions will be made in March. I think we're going into April now. I know we're going into April. If your appeal is denied, you can come back next year. If you're granted a reduction, you cannot appeal again until the next reval in 5 years. And if you don't agree with the board's decision, you can take the next step and appeal your decision in court. Instructions on how to do so will be in your decision letter.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
And, we would enjoy a conversation with the advisor that has done it, and if that helps as well.
If we can do that at this point in the process, I will ask the assessor about that, and he will get back to you. I'm not 100% sure, given that we're outside of that period, whether he can do that or not, but worth asking. So, sounds great.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Hello, this is Shannon.
Hi, Shannon. This is Kathleen Griffin calling from the Board of Assessment Appeals regarding your appeal. Hi.
Yes,
How are you?
This morning?
Good, thanks.
Thank you.
Great. I'm just going to read a few things for you. I'm Kathleen Griffin. I'm one of 9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals. I'm going to hear your appeal this morning, and you are being recorded. Let me just make sure my recording's going. It is. And I'm going to read a few things into the record, so please correct me if any of it is wrong. Your appeal number is 494. The property address is 1366 Post Road. The owner of the property is Fleet National Bank of Mass. The town has the property valued at $4,128,700, and you're requesting a reduction to $2,785,565.
Correct.
Okay, and then the next, I'm just going to have you confirm who you are. So if you could state your name for the record and tell me whether you are the owner of the property or a duly authorized agent on behalf of the owner.
Yes, my name is Shannon Robinson, and I'm with Ernst & Young, and we are a duly authorized representative of the owner.
Okay, great. So now I'm just going to ask you, are you an attorney?
No, I am not.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand, and I'm going to swear you in. We don't have to swear in the attorneys, but all right, where's my little script here? Where it went. You'd think I would know the oath after however 100 of these I've done, but I don't. Do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, great. So now's your opportunity to tell me and through the recording to the board why you believe the valuation should be reduced to $2,785,565.
Okay, and I had sent some information with the appeal, and then I had emailed some additional, and hopefully you got both packets. I did get an email back from the assessor this morning saying that I'm all set, so I hope they've passed it on to you.
Yes, I see the original packet, and then I see something with a handwritten appeal 494 that says 1366 Post Road at the top, CoStar vacancy rates on page 2, all of that. So I'm assuming between those two documents.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what you're referring to. So yes, it's all here in the file.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Okay, so the subject property is an owner-occupied bank branch, and it was built in 1956. And like most, or like many types, I'll say, of commercial real estate, it was hit pretty hard by COVID. This particular bank branch was closed for 189 days in the year 2020. And also there's a lot of uncertainty with bank branches with going to mobile and online banking. That's been going on for years, just gaining more popularity each year. And just this year with COVID, with more and more people adopting it, there's a real uncertainty in the industry as to what the banks are going to do with all of their real estate. Are they going to reduce it? It's tough because there are people that just don't want to do the online banking, so it's kind of uncertain.
Okay.
So with that being said, we basically looked at an income approach and a sales comparison approach. And in terms of the income, we put together the income analysis, and basically what we're doing is we're looking at it from, an owner's perspective that's renting out a bank branch. So we looked for, and this particular location has, the main level is the retail bank, and there's a small amount of office space, and then they do have a finished attic and finished basement space. So
no other tenants? I'm sorry, no other tenants, right?
No other tenants,
okay.
No. So, and again, this is owner occupied, but in order to look at it, from an income standpoint, we would look at what a typical owner is going to see. So we found 2 lease comps. One is, so the subject's at 1366 Post Road. We found 1177 Post Road. And it was signed in January 19, 1,250 square feet with asking and starting rent of $55 triple net, 10-year term, and the lease started July 2019. And then we also found 1300 Post Road East in Westport. Unfortunately, it's hard to find lease comps for bank branches because many of them are owner-occupied. So these are the 2 closest we could find. This was 2406 square feet, signed in June of 19, starting in September of 19, a 5-year term with an asking rent of $50 triple net, starting at $40. triple net. So because of the location, both are subject in Fairfield, and we did have a comp from Fairfield. We're using the higher amount of the $55 a square foot.
Okay.
We looked for, some small office space for our office rent, and we found 1618 Post Road. It was a 1,800 square foot office lease signed in November of 19. Starting November 19, just a one-year term, it was $33 triple net. So we use that for the office space. And then for the finished attic and basement space, that's usually a fraction of the main floor rent, like 1/3 to 1/2. So we put $20 on both of those. So applying those rents to our square footage, we came up to the $258,570 gross potential income. We used a vacancy and collection loss of 5%. I do have on the second set of information I sent over the Fairfield retail vacancy rents for basically all of 2020, and it did show 5.561. So we think that we're in the ballpark here.
So the 5% vacancy rate. Okay.
Yes. And then for expenses, these are the typical expenses that an owner would have. So since these are triple net, the tenant pays most of the expenses, but the landlord will have to worry about management. So that's usually 3 to 4%. We use 3% of the EGI. Tenant improvement and tenant turnover of $2 a square foot. This is something that the owner spends on the space to get a tenant in, and then you amortize that over the length of the lease.
Mm-hmm.
So we have that in there, $2 a square foot. Leasing commission, same thing. They need to spend that to get a tenant in, and it's amortized over the length of the lease. Generally, leasing commissions for commercial property are closer to 7%, but then sometimes with renewals, they're less, maybe 5%. So we went with 5%, trying to be conservative.
Okay.
And then reserves at 2% of the EGI. That's, although the tenant will be paying, the normal upkeep, the owner is taking care of the large structural items and building systems, so they need to reserve for that. So that all added up to total expenses of about $36,724. Then we come down to a net operating income of $208,917, and we used a cap rate of 7.5%. We took that, and again, I included this in the second set of information. It's from Realty Rates, which is an investor survey. These guys basically poll brokerages, appraisal firms, developers, investors, lenders, and they put together all of the investing and cap rate information, and we've chosen basically down at the bottom, we highlighted it. The overall capitalization rate was 7.83. That was the average, and we went with 7.5. Again, trying to be a little conservative.
Right. And no, that's what I've been hearing. I think I had another bank the other day. So yeah.
Oh,
You're in the ballpark.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So that's the income approach.
Okay.
Where we came out to the 2,785,565, which is about $458 a square foot. So then we also tried to look for some sales, and the only two sales we found in 2020, and this is in all of Fairfield County. There was one in Fairfield at 1899 Bronson Street that sold for $347 a square foot in December of 2020, and then the only all right, let's see.
These are bank properties?
Yes, bank properties.
Yeah.
Actually, okay, so let me just
That's
go
by
back
the
for a
Chase
minute.
Bank then on Bronson Road. Okay.
Yeah, and then the only other sale in Fairfield was back in October of 18, 2500 Black Rock Turnpike. That sold for $593 a square foot. But again, we're going back to 18 there. but taking the average of those two Fairfield sales, we're coming in at about $470 a square foot, which is pretty similar to where I was coming out to with the income approach of $458 a square foot. But I also did just present to you all the sales I could find, since I had to go back looking for the anything in Fairfield, and that went back to October 18. I basically pulled from mid-18 all the way to current. The only two that sold in 2020 was the one I just spoke about, the Chase on Bronson Street, and then there was one in Shelton, which was only $164 a square foot. But basically, I gave you the table. There's a 347 on Bronson. There's and then the one I just talked about in Shelton, and then going back to 18. There's two in the 500s and two in the 200s, so they're kind of all over the place, really.
Yeah, and this location is downtown Fairfield, is that right? Yeah, 1366 Post Road. So that's a, I don't know about the Post Road East Westport one that sold in 18 for $2.3 million, but at 555 square feet, that's probably a nice location. I mean, not that the others aren't. The Bronson Road, has probably more value. I don't know as real estate but I'm not sure. Anyway, okay. I see the sales here. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And basically, that's pretty much all I had to tell you about.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. You used both approaches. You came up with, sounds like, with the income approach around $458 a square foot, and for the sales approach, $470 a square foot. And I'm assuming that calculates out to the market value when you multiply it times the square foot to come to the 2.785565 number.
Correct.
Okay. So, do you know if that's? Did you average the 470? I don't have my calculator here. 470, 458.
No, my 2.785 is based on the income approach of 458.
It's based on the income approach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I was just using the sales basically for support.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And let me just make sure I wrote down, probably on the field card, how many square feet is the bank?
6,080 rentable square feet.
6,080 rentable. Okay. Okay, if you don't have any other information for me, I will read you a closing statement, and I think that was very thorough, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sure. So I'll be presenting your petition to a majority of the board at a deliberation session for consideration and vote. You'll be notified by mail of the board's decision within 7 days of the decision. All decisions will be made in March or April. By the end of April at this rate we're going. So if your appeal is denied, you can come back next year. If you're granted a reduction, you cannot appeal again until the next reval in 5 years. And if you don't agree with the board's decision, you can take the next step, appeal your decision in court, and instructions on how to do so will be in your decision letter.
Perfect.
Great. One other question I forgot to ask you. Did the bank have an informal hearing where they went before the revaluation company to take a look at the paperwork? It says no on the sheet. I just wanted to confirm that there was no informal hearing.
That's correct.
No
there was none.
Okay. I know Chris Kieran of other revaluations spoke with a lot of the commercial property appeals. Okay, but there was no informal for this one. Okay.
Right.
Sounds great. Well, thank you very much. And
thank you for your time.
Enjoy the rest of your day. All right.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good morning. This is Kathleen Griffin calling from the Board of Assessment Appeals for Dean Damas.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Good. I just want to introduce myself first. As I said, I'm a member of the Board of Assessment Appeals. There are 9 of us, and I'm going to hear your appeal this morning, and I want to let you know that you are being recorded. Okay, and so first I'm going to read a few things into the record and just confirm, let me know if any of it is incorrect. Your appeal number is 6. Property address is 1645 Black Rock Turnpike. The owner of the property is Harbor Townhomes, LLC. The town has the property valued at $4,413,700, and you're requesting a reduction to $3,700,000.
Correct.
Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to do is ask you to state your name for the record, whether you are the owner of the business or a duly authorized agent on behalf of the business, and then I'm going to swear you in.
Okay, my name is Dean Cardenas. I am the managing member of Harbor Townhomes, LLC.
Managing member. Okay, let's write that down. Okay, and then if you could raise your right hand, I will swear you in. I know you can't see me, but it sounds silly, but anyway. Do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, great. So now is your opportunity to tell me why you believe the market value of your home of the property on October 1st, 2020 was $3.7 million and not the value of $4.4 million the town has on the property.
Well, we don't have an appraisal offhand, but I just going by what, we go by what the bank says it's worth on cash flow. I know what I built the building as Harbor Townhomes. I know, obviously how much we spent, how much we put in, and what the bank valuation puts it at. It seemed to be an aggressive number, this time around. But, we were also told that we're going to do a mill rate adjustment based on the new assessments, which, doesn't seem to be happening. So obviously, one correlates with the other. So if they're not going to do they're not going to do the mill rate adjustment, then that's, a problem for us.
Yes, it doesn't appear based on the budget we don't get involved in the taxes, we just are involved in the valuation, but it doesn't appear that the mill rate at the moment is going to come down. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
So, so when they do their property evaluation, or I guess, their appraisal, obviously don't do a full appraisal, but they do, more of a, based on, I don't even know if there's I guess they're using another comp of a building that's what they consider similar.
It depends. Whether it is a, some people use the income, some use the income approach, some use the sales approach, to value the properties. The revaluation company is a local company. Chris Kieran of that company did all of the valuations for the companies. So I don't know exactly what approach he would have used with this particular property. He did give a presentation to, I believe it was the Board of Finance a couple weeks ago, where he explained the process that he uses, in general that he used for valuation. So certainly that would be helpful in understanding it. But
because if you don't have the cash flow numbers, you surely can't go on a cash flow. I guess you could, right? I guess what they do is they decide what market value of apartments are, and they just kind of back into a number that way. I guess.
Right.
One approach.
So can you just describe for me the property addresses? So these is apartments, and how many apartments?
It's 1645 Black Rock Turnpike.
Yes.
It's a 29-unit 830G building, and I think that was going to be my argument today. Is I don't know if they put into the math that 9 of the 29 units are affordable. So that those affordable units, the market rate could be between $1,400 and $1,600 for a one-bedroom in Fairfield. We only have 14 one-bedrooms there. There's 15 efficiencies, and 9 of the 29 have to be rented affordable. So that, the cash flow is almost half of the market rate.
Right.
On
so
9 of those units.
Which ones are the affordable? The one bedrooms or the efficiencies?
Well, there's 4 and 5. There's four one bedrooms that are affordable, and 5 efficient.
And 5 efficiencies. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the
really
difference?
Don't rent for that much more. It's about $100 a month difference between an efficiency and a one bedroom. They're almost the same square footage, so it's just a matter of the floor plan.
Sure.
But I just wonder when Chris Kieran did the evaluation, did he figure in, and 9 of those units are affordable rent? I don't know. Do you have that? Do you have that information?
I don't have that. The assessor's office could provide you with that if you wanted to ask them how they did that. Can you just tell me what the rates are typically, the difference, you said they're only $100 difference, but what do you get?
Well, I'm saying like if you're an affordable unit, the affordable unit that rents for $1,550 market, as let's say it's a market rate of $1,550, that unit's like $900, $880 as affordable. It's based on your income.
900, 880. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm looking right here. It shows right here. Notes 9 affordable units, 19 GL merge with 77/582. I don't know what that means. What they do here, but and then it shows total units. 6. Okay, so we have 6 one-bedroom units that are at market rate, and then it shows 23 studios.
Is that correct on the card?
Yeah, I guess it is.
Okay, you said 14 and 15. I just didn't know.
Yeah, I thought, but yeah, now, you know what, because what we were calling one bedrooms, they don't call one bedroom because they're like what they call like a sleeping alcove, they call it. So it doesn't constitute a one bedroom. That's kind of what my mistake was there.
So they have 14 studios, 15 one bedrooms. Something about 6 one bedroom.
We have 6 one bedrooms, 23 studios.
6 one bedrooms.
9 affordable units. Out of the 9, there's 4 one bedrooms, 5 studios.
So most of the one bedrooms are the affordable. So 4 one bedrooms are affordable, but they don't rent for that much difference. You said anyway, and 23 and 5 of the studios.
Yeah, the affordable is the studios and the one bedrooms and the affordable component. They don't rent for that much difference.
Right, but in general, it's about $1,550 a month for market rate, and then about $980 a month for the affordable.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And how did you come up with your $3.7 million number?
I just went for how the bank has this valued.
And did you provide copies of the bank value?
A copy.
A copy of the bank valuation?
I did not.
Okay. Can you is that something you can share? I just was curious to know.
I think I should. I think I can. I don't see why not. I don't have it right here now, but I think I could.
Yeah, I think it would be a good thing to have that in the record because that's where you got your number from. So I know, other board members prefer, it to actually have it attached to the file.
I just wanted to make sure, I guess that the goal today was to just make sure the affordability plan was part of this evaluation.
Right.
And, even if that is the case, when you go in front of the board, maybe there's just a small adjustment to be made.
Right.
I just hope they, I just want to make sure they put that into the map because that's a huge difference.
Right. Is that part of the map? So I will find that out.
It's part of that. If Chris used the cash flow approach to come up with the value, there's a huge
For sure. Yeah. And you did not have an informal hearing. Is that correct?
No, this is it. We're having it right now.
Yeah, a lot of the commercial properties did speak with the reval company during the informal hearing process, but that closed at the end of January, or in January. So now you have to be in front of the board. Okay, so if you wanted to submit, the paperwork that supports your 3.7 number from the bank, I can give you the address where to email it to.
Okay, what's that?
Sure, it's BAA for Board of Assessment Appeals at Fairfield. Yep, B as in boy, A as in apple, A as in apple at fairfieldct.org.
.org.
Yeah, and just put your appeal number in the subject line, number 133. And put Harbortown LLC or something, or the address, 1645 Black Rock Turnpike. Just say that this is additional supporting documentation for your appeal.
Okay.
Okay? Sounds great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I just have a closing statement I'll read you. I'll be presenting your case to the majority of the board at a deliberation session for consideration and vote. You'll be notified by the board's decision within 7 days of that decision. We will make all our decisions hopefully it should be by the end of April. If your appeal is denied, you can come back next year. If you're granted a reduction, you can't appeal again for 5 years. And if you don't agree with the board's decision, you can take the next step and appeal your decision in court. Instructions on how to do so will be in your decision letter. Okay, great. This concludes your hearing. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. I am not Harold, but I don't know where my name tag went. So
Okay.
I don't think I'm Ronique either. Ronique is behind there.
I'll
So
try
we'll
not to
just
call you
turn that
Harold.
around. Here, have a seat here or there, wherever
you.
you're comfortable with COVID. Different people like different places. I will say that that phone is recording right there, so if you shuffle papers too close to it, it
I'll
gets a
try
little
not to.
annoying for the public who's listening in.
That's something that I would do, but I'll try not to.
I know I've done it as well. So I'm Kathleen Griffin. I'm one of 9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals.
9. Hi.
Yeah, this year we're 9. I'm here to hear your appeal.
Great.
And as I said, your appeal's being recorded there on the phone. And I'm going to read a few things into the record for you first, and then
Sure.
have you state your name and we'll swear you in. You're not an attorney. Let's see. Okay.
I am an attorney.
You are an attorney. So we can skip the swearing in. Anyway.
That's what it says on my wall.
Great. So it's
You want me to sign this document?
I do, but let's confirm who you are first. So I'm just going to read these into the record. The appeal number is 121. Property address is 930 Mill Hill Terrace. Owner of the property is 930 Mill Hill Realty, LLC. Town value is, $4,790,300. Requesting a reduction to $2 million. And $2 million. Is that correct? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Some people have the assessed request versus the appraised, so I just want to make sure we're all talking in the same dollar.
Fair market value.
Fair market value of $2 million. Okay, great. And then I just need you to state your name for the record and whether you are the owner of the property or an authorized agent on behalf of the property.
Paul Dorsey, I am an authorized agent.
Okay. And because you're an attorney, I don't need to swear you in, but if you could just sign that sheet, England, that would be helpful. And now this is your opportunity. So add that to the file. Thank you. This is your opportunity to tell me why you think the appraised value should be reduced to $2 million. I just want you to describe the property first for me, so
Sure.
who's ever listening will know where it is and what it is. And
This is a skilled nursing home facility. It's licensed for 120 beds. That's what really gives the value to the property as an operating nursing home. So I actually had a brief conversation with your assessor a couple of weeks ago. And I showed him some documents that I had submitted to you. If you take a look at 2018 and 2019, in years prior, the assessment wasn't really all that bad. It was kind of right on. But we have to consider 2020 and what's happened in skilled nursing homes in the age of COVID. And it's a little difficult when you see a performing nursing home such as this one, kicking along, doing better than most in the state, well run by a good operator, and then something like COVID happens. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that we should just take 2020 in isolation and forget about the past and forget about the future. It's a very, very difficult task. But because it's difficult doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. There has to be some relief given this nursing home. The value of its property has gone down. You base the value of these nursing homes on their performance, the number of licensed beds they have. You take a look at their occupancy, how much are they getting in reimbursed for Medicaid, which is very, very low, versus Medicare. Do they have enough Medicare patients? Do they have enough private pay? All this comes into consideration. And as like I said, if you take a look at what I submitted, my scratch sheets, taken from the numbers are taken from the Medicaid cost reports that are submitted every year to the state of Connecticut, audited reports. This is used to set the Medicaid reimbursements. I have here. I haven't given you all this document.
Okay, so you have some more to give me.
Well,
okay,
no, because I didn't make the copies. They're 97 pages long, and so. Okay. But what I did is I gave you a workup, which is you'll see salary and wages, direct care, and I'm under oath. These are the numbers. The numbers are the numbers.
Right. And you've got a 2020 year-to-date, a 2019, and a 2018.
Now,
okay.
So let's take a quick look at these. So you see what's happening in 2018. They had 113 occupants at the end of the cost report year out of 120 beds. That's perfect. Okay, you want 5, 6, 7 beds like that. That's not bad. You see an income of $12 million. Quickly take a look at 19. What do we have in 19? Well, they were at 103 beds, but that's not bad. That fluctuates. Look at their income, $12 million, almost identical to what it was. Okay, that's wonderful. And they did a little better on their expenses in 19, so they stabilized their income. They brought down some expenses, which helped their NOI. So you take a look at those numbers at the bottom. At the end of the day, this is a $4 million, $5 million facility, just doing what it should be doing, operating nicely. And then you take a look at what happened in 2020. The income is $11,878,000, but that also includes $679,000 of COVID relief. So in actuality,
I see on the bottom.
Yeah.
This is your asterisk for the 11.
Yeah.
Up from up there.
Without
okay.
COVID relief, their income was $11,198,000. We're not going to get COVID relief next year, most likely. Okay? Mm-hmm. And how are we going to get the census back up?
How many beds did you have filled in 2020? I know you said year to date.
I don't have the the count because what I had to go off of was not a cost report with that information, but it was actually the profit and loss detail.
Okay, so you don't have the bed count for
I don't have the bed count, but the client has indicated that they have a 30% decrease.
Okay, client says 30%.
30% decrease overall. It's a hard enough business as it is, okay? The state for the last 10 years, there's been a trend to get people home rather than have them in the nursing home, skilled care to nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a kick fight to keep these places operating profitably.
Right.
All right? Medicare now, it used to be when someone fell and broke a hip, they would require a month or 8 weeks in a nursing home. You walk now the day you get the, which is good, don't get me wrong, but it has effects on this industry. Now we have COVID. People are thinking twice before sending a family member to a nursing home. This is an affluent area that has an effect on it as well. People have the means to keep family members home and hire outside help and nursing care for home.
Do they have a high number of deaths due to COVID in the nursing
I don't know this one in particular. I don't have the figure on this.
Okay, I'm just wondering if that affected, their beds as well.
Well, they're not closed.
Right.
They're operating.
Okay.
Several have closed.
Okay.
Several have closed. Norwich, Putnam, just all over the state of Connecticut.
Right.
So like I said, I think if this facility closed, the brick and mortar is worth $2 million. They're very hard to convert.
That's where you came up with your $2 million?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I have to testify here today, truthfully, that there's not slated to close. They don't want to close this one. This one is going to try to survive. So maybe the $2 million is low if this one survives. What's going to happen over the next 5 years, the 5 years of the reval cycle? Wow.
Okay.
But this will not sell for $5 million or $4.7 million. It will not. If this was on the market, and it's not, but if it was, no nursing home investor, because of COVID, would suggest that this is a $4,700,000 value.
So on the sales, you believe the property is worth $2 million brick and mortar.
Brick and mortar
is $2 million. Sell it. Okay.
Yep.
And then the income approach is putting you somewhere around.
Well, the income approach, the problem with the income approach, like I said, this is difficult.
Because you've got the COVID relief.
We've got the COVID relief. So even with the COVID relief, we only have an NOI of $160,000.
Okay, and you're using a cap rate of 12.5 typically. Did you change the cap rate for?
No.
For 20 feet and put a cap
There's no
rate
NOI to cap. There's $160,000 in NOI. It doesn't really make sense. The 12.5 cap rate is a blended cap rate in the analysis of 18 and 19, and it's blending the business value and the real estate value. So the way we go about doing an analysis, it's a little bit different than an apartment building, let's say. Mm-hmm. A 30-unit apartment building is easy. Okay? You might argue over the cap rate, but you don't have to value the business.
Right.
Okay? This you have to value the business. So the cap rate on the business is actually more like 18%. The cap rate on the real estate is probably 10%. But since there's an 80% there's a 20% business value factor, you build the cap rate to reflect that you're not only putting the value on the real estate, you're putting the value on the business. So, for example, in 2019, the year before the reval, in isolation, you don't only take a look at 1 year, but if a buyer was coming to take a look at buying this business, not just the brick and mortar, but the licenses, the beds, right?
Right.
The staff, most importantly, the census, okay? Who's there? Medicare patients, right? This caps out to an enterprise value of almost $8 million.
Right.
Okay? But then you deduct 20% for a business value. That's low if it's a really good performing business like this one. And then you take out the personal property. Because when you buy it, you buy the personal property, you buy the census, you buy the staff, you buy the, the intangible.
Right.
So my point is that no one would be buying the going concern right now.
Okay.
If they are, they're going to buy it at an incredible risk. And there might be some purchasers out there. I represent lots of these facilities and lots of operators, and there's not that many people out there right now saying, sure, I'll take your distressed nursing home and I'll buy it at a high cap rate, at a discounted price, and hopefully I could hang on to it for 5 years or 3 years or whenever the recovery is going to be.
Right.
But we're not going to see 100%.
So this is Regal Care. Is that it? They own multiple nursing homes? Okay. How many do they own?
In Connecticut, I think Regal Care has probably a half a dozen or more.
Has 9. Okay. 6 or 7. Okay. 6 or more in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a larger.
Yes.
Okay. It's not a standalone.
No.
Well, it says 930 Mill Hill Realty. It's obviously that's the
that's the holding
for that
company.
particular business. Right.
Regal Care is the operator. So this is they're unique in the sense that they own the real estate and the operations. They're related. A lot of times they're not.
Right. And they own the real estate as well.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Like I said, it's hard.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
But
yeah,
this is our time to appeal. We have to do this. Yeah. I wish I could say, here's an appraisal. The appraisers are still figuring it out.
Right. And for the $2 million brick and mortar, you don't have an appraisal for that, right?
No.
Okay. It's okay. I know.
No. And to perfectly honest, that's brick and mortar. This one's not going to close. This does have a business value.
Right.
This does have a, it will have NOI to capitalize. It's not going to be up to $4.7 million or $5 million. It's just not.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. $3 million. If they have NOI to capitalize out to a $3 million real estate value, they'll be pleased as punch. They really would.
Okay.
In the years to follow.
So you should be at what number? 3 something? What did you say?
3.
Around $3 million.
Around 3. So it's 120. So that, let's say mid-20s a bet even.
Okay.
Let's see if we can.
It's okay. I just wanted to say, often I'll ask people, all the numbers aside, what do you feel is really the right number? Then you have supporting evidence for that. So in this case, you're saying, there's no way it's 4.9. They'd be happy if it was 3. Okay.
So that's 25 a bet. So we're getting sales now in Connecticut of distressed nursing homes, pre-COVID sales. So if a nursing home was just chugging along, losing a little bit of money or breaking even, and an outfit wanted to sell it, we're seeing sales of 18 to 22 a bed on a one that's not profitable.
When not profitable, okay.
But now, and then up to 30, 35 on the ones that are profitable.
Okay.
And so this one, let's say, what would, I think a value that would sit well with them would be like 25 a bed, and that puts it into $3 million.
Okay. Sounds good.
Tough. Like I said, the assessment, without COVID, just looking at the previous years and what was going on, I think the assessor was spot on. But that you have to give us some consideration for COVID, or they're all going out of business.
Right. Okay. And so you did not have an informal hearing, but you did speak with the assessor.
I did. I saw him here when I was here a couple weeks ago, and I showed him the,
Yeah.
And
no, we had some of our commercial properties had at informal hearings during the informal hearing process,
right,
where they got reviewed by Chris Kieran of the Reval Company.
Yeah.
And had conversations about their businesses.
I know Chris very, very well.
Oh, but they didn't have that.
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't.
It's
no.
okay. Just trying to figure out who's looked at what.
No.
So. Okay.
No. And I would venture to say, you can ask him. Chris probably he would not have a problem with my per bed values.
Okay.
We've had many, many cases together. I've been on the same side with him. He's been opposed on the opposite side of me, and he understands. And I can see his numbers. I can see his reasoning in coming up with that value pre-COVID. Like I said, there's not much of a beef there. This is a nice home.
Right.
But Yeah.
But yeah, I hear you.
At the end of the day,
you get the
there has
reduction
to
for
be
5 years, right? So will
Yeah.
it ever come back to that? We don't know, right? For sure.
It's
I mean,
not
we
going to
hope
be
so,
in
but
3
it's not going to
years,
be all the way back.
but
Right.
it's not going to come back.
Right. Okay, so I don't know if you know the follow-up procedure, if you've had appeals already, but your petition will be presented to a majority of the board for deliberation and vote. You'll be notified by mail of the board's decision within 7 days of that decision. We'll make all our decisions. We were supposed to make them in March, but we're going to need an extension. There's no ways.
Understood.
So probably into April. If you're denied, you can come back next year, and if you're granted a reduction, you can't appeal again for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
If you don't agree with the board's decision, you can take the next step, appeal in court, and instructions on how to do so will be in your decision letter.
Thank you so much.
Great. I appreciate you coming in today. Thank you for. It's always fun for me to hear the different businesses in town, and yeah, this is my first nursing home, so that's good. All right. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
You can leave the door open on your way out.
Thank you.
If it was before the surgery, it would be a delegate. That's the crazy.
Well, that's a good thing, then. It helps you, so. My name is Kathleen Griffin. I'm one of, you can have a seat wherever there if you're comfortable. If not, you can sit over here. If you want to be further away from me, I'll be on the other side over there.
You said Kathleen?
Kathleen Griffin, yes.
Nice to meet you, Kathleen. I'm Dan.
The tag for Harold is still there, but I am Kathleen.
No worries.
Yeah, can't know where my tag went. So I'm one of 9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals, and I'm here to hear your appeal this morning.
Yes.
And I'm going to state a few things. You are being recorded on this phone right here, so if you have, let me just make sure it's still on, yep, papers and things, just try not to shuffle them too close to the speakers or everybody will be hearing them. So yeah, putting them on the table over there is a little bit better. So I'm just going to read a couple things into the record, and correct me if any of it is wrong. Your appeal number is 228. The property address is 1 Elliott Place. The owner of the property is RWTR1 Elliott LLC. Town has the value at $4,971,000, and you're requesting a reduction to $4,004,811. Is that correct?
That's
okay,
correct.
Great. And then the next thing I'm going to have you do is state your name for the record and whether you are the owner of the business or a duly authorized agent on behalf of the owner.
My name is Daniel Mann, and I am the owner of the business.
Are the owner. Okay, great. And then I'll have you, are you an attorney? No.
I'm not.
Okay, so if you could raise your right hand, I'm going to swear you in, and then you can sign that statement that she gave you. Do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
Okay, great. So now this is your opportunity to provide testimony as to why you believe the market value of the property is the $4 million number that you are requesting and not the $4.971 the town has for the property.
Of course. Thank you very much for this opportunity. So my contest of our assessment is pretty simple.
You know what, I'm sorry.
Oh.
First, can you just tell me which building 1 Elliott Place is? I believe it's to the left of the Marshalls there.
That's
that
correct.
right?
One Elliott Place is the office building to the left of the Marshalls, behind the Hertz property
Yeah.
on Elliott Place.
Does not include the Hertz.
It does not include the Hertz
Okay.
property.
Great, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So the basis for our value of just over $4 million is based off of three basic concepts. One is general market of office properties in suburban Connecticut today. Two is a comparison to the most recent and pretty much only comparable trade in the last 18 months, maybe even a bit more than that. And four is income cap approach.
Did I miss one? I have general market of office properties. 2 is only comparable trade in the last 18 months.
Yeah, approximately 18 months.
Okay.
I don't remember.
3 was
income cap approach.
income cap approach. Okay.
So general market in overall has seen a significant decline in leasing activity in all suburban office properties, pretty much with the exclusion of some parts of Stamford and Greenwich. There has been little to no leasing in the town of Fairfield. Vacancy has grown from about 8% to over 16% over the last 12 to 24 months. And there are not a lot of leasing activity going on just in general in the market today, while expenses have continued to increase at very high rates due to COVID and other factors. That is the general market consensus of valuations of office buildings in suburban Connecticut have gone down over the last 24 months. For the second cause that I said before, which is the comparable trades analysis, the really only comparable trade to this property, which comparable is a light word here, is 2150 Post Road, which transacted in January of 2021. This property is of significant better quality than 1 Elliott Place. 1 Elliott is a solid B-class building. I would say that 2150 is arguably the second nicest building in the market and is the closest to a Class A building we have.
Okay, and I'm sorry, how many square feet of office space is 1 Elliott Place?
1 Elliott's about 25,000 square feet.
25,000 square feet, and how about the...
2150 Post Road is about 50,000 square feet.
50,000 square feet, okay.
On a per square foot basis, 2150 Post Road sold in January 2021 at about just under $200 a foot. It was a $10 million trade, 50,000 square feet, just over that.
Just under $200 a square foot?
Just under $200 a square foot.
Do you know what the purchase price was of full?
$10 million.
$10 million.
Yes. That property is of much better quality than our property, and from a comp standpoint, from per square foot value, I think it would be very, very hard to say that the properties are equal.
That you could get 200 a square
That you can
foot.
get 200. If you can get 200 square foot for a better quality Class A building, there, how could you get $200 square foot for our building, which is not as nice? It does not have the same amenities. It does not have nearly the kind of quality finishes as that other building does, as 2150 does.
And if I multiply the 25,000 by the 200 square foot, I'm sorry, you get to about $5 million. Right?
That's correct.
Okay.
So I believe from a comp approach, our building is worth about $160 a foot.
Okay.
So how did I get to 160 a foot?
Sure.
Based off of the income and expense reports that we file annually with the town of Fairfield.
Right.
The last report we filed, we had total income, I'm just going to do high-level numbers,
Sure.
of $677,000 of gross income, with a 15% general vacancy. I said the market today, based on new marker of Knight Frank, is 16.6% vacancy. A 15% vacancy off of our building is about $100,000. It's actually $101,583.
Okay.
That leaves net income before operating expenses of that leaves effective gross income of $575,637, with operating expenses as reported in that report, which have gone up since then, but I will go based off of that report because we're doing everything based off of the last filing, of $212,985. We get to an income before taxes of $362,652.
Okay.
In the free market, environment of real estate, we always factor in taxes for income caps.
Right.
So if we just keep the taxes the same at $66,117, you get to an NOI of just under $300,000.
Just under what, $300,000?
$300,000.
Okay.
So the only difference between what we just went over and what was in that report that was filed for the income and expenses.
Right, we don't have it in here. Okay, that's all right.
I assume it's on file with the town. That's why I didn't bring an extra copy. The only difference is the change in the general vacancy factor, which is purely based off of what has occurred in the market when you look at absorption.
Okay.
So when you use all of that at a 15% general vacancy,
and a cap rate?
And a cap rate. Class B office properties in suburban Connecticut today go for between 8 and an 8.5 cap. So using the lower number for argument's sake, I used an 8 cap.
Okay.
Check my math. Yeah, okay. Just want to make sure I use the right number. So using an 8 cap as a more aggressive number, to be fair, that comes to a valuation of $3.7 million. Now, I understand that the current vacancy is the current vacancy and COVID is a factor. So if you lower that general vacancy from a 15% to a 10%, you get to a valuation of $4.13 million.
We'll go to vacancy from 15 to 10%, right?
Correct.
Using the same cap rate. You
Correct.
get $4.13 million.
$4.13 million. Again, keeping everything else the same except for your general vacancy, saying that the market, the 16.6% today has a COVID factor in there that may not be steady for the next 5 years.
Right. That's the hard part this year, right? It's so hard for the commercial property. It's one thing for the real estate market because everybody's kind of equal, but
of course.
You guys are based on income, so it's...
And that's why I'm trying to be fair here and say, hey, 15 may be relevant for this point in day and time, but I know we're looking for 5 years out, and therefore 10 may be more appropriate for that 5-year hold.
Okay.
So
how do you come to the $4,811 number?
So between those two, it's if you use our square footage of 25,000, just under 25,000 square feet, those two numbers are between $150 per square foot and $165 per square foot.
Okay.
Again, trying to be fair and reasonable. I thought $160 per square foot made sense. I thought that reflected a reasonable discount off of the 2150 Post Road trade at $200 a foot.
Okay.
And that still is a nice increase off of it.
So you used the 160, a vacancy rate of 15, and a cap rate of 8.5, and you came to the 4.
A cap rate of 8, actually.
A cap rate of 8. Okay.
Yeah, I was more aggressive on the cap rate.
Okay, cap rate of 8, 15% vacancy, and a cap rate of 8. That gets you to the $4,004,811 number. I'm not doing the math, but
no. It's so.
Because the requested value that was provided was the $4,480,000. I just want to make sure
correct.
Told me how you get exactly
so
there. It's pretty close to $4.13 million.
So what I said was, I did it at 15% general vacancy and 10% general vacancy.
Okay.
That gave me a range of $150 per square foot to $165 per square foot. I then compared that to the 2150 trade, and I felt the appropriate number is about a 160 per square foot.
Yeah.
On 160 times 25,000 square feet is $4 million. There was some rounding in there.
Okay.
So.
Plus the rounding. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know
It's okay. It's just not. We don't often see, $11, and I don't think the computer actually down there can handle it. Rounds into the hundreds, anyways. So.
Got it. I didn't realize. Again, I assume that the RPI, the income and expense report, is on file. I use all those numbers.
Okay.
Because those are the numbers that are true to the property based off of what we are assessing.
The one that you said. Okay, great. Is there anything else? And you did not have an informal hearing, or you did?
I did have an informal hearing.
You did have an informal. Okay.
Yeah, it was a short. It was.
Yeah.
I couldn't say it was more than a minute and a half.
Yeah, no, he talked to everybody. Or not. I shouldn't say not everybody, but some people did. So he did take a look at your paperwork. So, do you have anything else you want to add? And if not, I can read you a closing statement. I think you presented it well, and we know where your back for the number is. So.
Yeah. The only thing I would like to add is that in our property, we have about 25% of the rent roll expiring over the next 18 months. We did very fortunately come to an agreement with one of our tenants who recently expired on their lease. Of that 25% that is expiring, we know some of them already will be leaving.
Okay, and I'm sorry, you have what's the date that they're expiring? Soon? Did you say in 2021? I just heard what you said.
It's 1,500 square feet is expiring in September of 2021, and then it is another 5,000 square feet expiring September of 2022.
Okay.
And of that, I know that the 1,500 square feet, all or a portion of that will be vacant very soon.
My dentist used to be in there.
That was your dentist suite. that is expiring. It's attorneys that are going to retire.
All right. So good enough. So in closing, I'll be presenting your petition to a majority of the board for deliberation and vote. You'll be notified by the assessor's office of our decision within 7 days of the decision. We're supposed to make all our decisions in March, but we're going to have to ask for an extension because it's almost the end of March. So we'll probably go into April. If your appeal was denied, you can come back next year. You're granted a reduction. You cannot appeal again until the reval in 5 years. And if you don't agree with the board's decision, you can take the next step and appeal your decision in court. And instructions on how to do so will be in your decision letter.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank
great.
you so much.
Well, thank you very much for coming. I will take that from you, sign it, add it to your file.
Was there anything underneath here that?
No, that was only sometimes two people come, so we've been for the
understood.
second person. Yeah, but
Thank you so much.
hello. We're good. And you can leave the door open on your way out. And
Okie doke.
great. All right.
Have a wonderful day.
Oh, thank you. You too.
A door open, you said, right?
A door open is great. Yep. Drink the air up a little bit. Yeah, I thought it was a phone.
That's what I was walking him up to tell you.
I'm like, boy, that's ringing at the same time I'm calling him.
Yeah, that's
Let me put my mask back on.
Well, I've had both my shots, so I just...
You're in good better shape than me. I've had one. was brutal the first 4 days after. I was not in good shape. I'm surprised.
Well, my second one had a problem.
Oh,
Tell me
I'm
what
worried
I
about
should
that.
do when I...
Sure, if you're comfortable with COVID there, you're welcome to sit there. If not, you can go to the end of the table. Just know that we are recording here, so any papers, if you can put them, not too close to the phone so that the whole recording isn't just paper shuffling. So I'm Kathleen Griffin. I'm one of 9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals. I'm here to hear your appeal, and you are being recorded. And I'm going to read a few things into the record first, and just correct me if any of it is wrong. Your appeal number is 138, property address 233 Stamp Mortar Drive. Owners of the property are Richard and Carrie Parker. Town has the property valued at $341,200, and you're requesting a reduction to $310,000.
That's correct.
Okay, and then the second thing I'm going to do is verify you are who you say you are. So if you could please state your name for the record and whether you are the owner of the property or a duly authorized agent on behalf of the property.
My name is Richard Parker, and I am the owner of the property.
Okay, great. And then I want to ask you to raise your right hand, and I will swear you in. My glasses are not staying on today. Do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. Great. So now is your opportunity to provide testimony as to why you believe the valuation of your property should be set to the $310,000 value that you are requesting. I do have some paperwork here from you. So
an illustration for you, correct?
Okay. Let me just put this aside so that I can. And I do have some things in the file, so we've got this packet.
Mm-hmm.
So is what you're you're adding something additional?
That's correct.
Okay, so I'll take that. I'll be great. Thanks. You're out of paper. Okay.
Initially, I've illustrated all the properties on that same strip on my side of the street. Are you familiar with Stamp Mortar Drive?
Yeah.
And the hill I'm on the hillside.
Up, not the water side.
Not the water side.
Okay.
So the last property you see is mine. I paid $270 for it back in December 4th of 2017. The bank actually said they were only going to lend me $251, but I took a line of credit instead. I didn't bother with the bank.
Okay.
You'll notice that there's also 2 other properties that were sold $280 in January of 2020, and I went back to 6/22 of 18 just to give you some.
Where's the January 2020?
Stamp Mortar, 173 Stamp Mortar. The second, no, just stay with the first sheet first.
I missed the 173. Oh, wait, there it is. I see, 173. Okay, that sold in January of 2020 for $280,000. Okay.
And even if you went back to the 127, you'll see that that sold for $240, but that's 2011. That's
right. That's outside of our resale period.
Right. But my point being that side of the properties don't really move up, if you will. On my property specifically, you have me listed as a 4-bedroom house. It's actually a 3-bedroom house because it was changed due to the Frenches had a invalid in a wheelchair.
Right.
And they had to get that corrected.
So it's a 3-bedroom, not a 4-bedroom.
Correct.
Okay, the square footage correct, do you think?
Oh, yes, square footage is correct.
Square footage, okay. Because sometimes bedrooms don't make a difference, but sometimes they do. So
in looking at this situation,
okay.
It appears that the reason you increased the assessment was the square footage of the land. And in doing so, I don't know, I did put in there's an easement that goes through the end of the property, and that all the neighbors on that back street coming off of Delldale have use and access to turn around in my backyard, if you will.
Okay, so all the neighbors on Delldale?
No.
Okay.
There's
That's
5
up behind you, right?
Yeah,
okay.
there's an easement going around to...
Behind, up on the top?
On the top.
Way up the ledge in the back.
It goes from Delldale to Guyton Lane. and it's in the back. It's a driveway. It's 15 feet wide, and there's an easement that's approximately, the turnaround is approximately 2,000 square feet. Presently, I'm in litigation with both the neighbors on the other side because they both encroached. I can't do what I wanted to do with that property.
So just, do all the neighbors, all of your people on St. Mortar have that issue, or just your property?
No.
I should call it, let me just call it the GIS. Sometimes that helps me see where Delldale is. And
Okay.
one second. I am a lefty, and all these wires are set up for righty, so I'm typing on it. But I'm sorry, you can go ahead while I'm looking it up here. I just want to, so you're in litigation against, not in partnership.
No, I'm in litigation with the people at the bottom of the hill, which is
okay.
Casados and the Dangs, which you'll see when you get up there. And oddly enough, what you threw me kind of a curve when you said you were looking at this as a market value.
Yes.
So I took the neighbors across the street on the lake side and did their assessment as well. And that's what the second sheet is.
Okay.
And you're looking at your assessment compared to Zillow. I just use Zillow all the way across.
Okay.
Is like 42% less than it should be if you were looking at assessment, if you're looking at market value.
Okay. All right, I see St. Mortar, I see Guidan, but where's Delldale?
Delldale's the street behind Swanson's Fish Market, or what used to be Swanson's.
Got it, over there. Okay, I see.
There's a road there's an access way at the end of Delldale that goes all the way across for the 5 houses.
All right, yeah, that doesn't show that on here, but it's an easement that goes across like 141, 157, 173, all those
That's
houses.
correct.
Okay, and it goes across the back of all those properties?
Up until Delldale.
Okay.
And mine's the last one, up till Guidon. Mine's the last house at Guidon.
Yeah. Okay. And so what does that easement allow them to do?
To use it and turn around, because the easement's only 15 feet wide, but they park up there as well, so it becomes 8 foot wide. So they can't physically turn around on the road, so they come all the way down the end and spin around and come back.
Okay. Okay, I'm just having a hard time seeing how that affects your property because you're far away from Delldale, that's all. So maybe the easement's not showing. Okay.
Well, Jim Wendt has that.
Yeah. Can you, if you don't mind, since you've had 2 shots and I've had 1, can you just come over and just show me on this map?
Sure.
Unless you put it in here. See, I'm looking at, this is U 233. There's Delldale with a cul-de-sac. So this is the town map, and I see.
This is the way it comes in, right?
Right.
It comes down. This whole back section goes to here.
There's a road in there.
So it's an access road.
There is an access road. I see. Okay.
It's
not showing it on the GIS. There's an access road that goes behind all these properties. I'll go drive it on my way down. Okay. And it goes all the way down to Guidan, and they use that?
Mm-hmm. I may have
And your neighbors use it, or the people on Brookside? The neighbors use it?
They all have to use it because they can't get
because that's right, because you can't get at your house from down below. You got all those stairs coming up. I get it. Okay. Yep.
Don't know if you can actually.
I just want to make sure, yes.
Mm-hmm. There, I didn't bring the easement. The easement's filed with town hall.
Yeah, it's okay. I can get it. We're good at getting follow up on that. I just want to make sure I have your story accurate. So now I understand what you're talking about, and we got the easement in there. This isn't showing it well, but I understand what you're saying. And so all the other properties on St. Mortar get to use that. They go down Delldale. They come down to your property. They turn around by your garage. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. And then,
So the closest property to what represents that you represent, if you look at either 189 St. Mortar, or because of the square footage of the house, we're both a 1 1/4 cape. I mean, the upstairs is not. I mean, it is. There's a bedroom up there, so don't get me wrong, but the ceiling heights are not there.
You can't finish it legally.
You can't do anything. Even the fire department says I can't put a window in there. I got to put a bigger window in. So I may have to raise the roof on it eventually. But the closest one is to 189 to what my property looks like.
Okay. Okay.
From a,
And the 189 cent order is on your.
right, that's the middle one.
But on the table here, but it didn't sell.
No. I'm just telling you from what you've
Okay.
assessed.
I'm trying to get there. Got it. Yep. Okay.
And then
189. Yep.
Then the other side of the street, if you looked at that, I was comparing market properties and et cetera. If you know St. Mortar, my house has got the stairway to heaven.
Yeah, I know which one you are. So I drive to the Merritt from my house a lot. So I love to cut through rather than go Black Rock Turnpike. So
But then I tried to make it if you looked at it, I tried to make it a little less. And the reason I'm in litigation is because I can't put a driveway up the way when Mickno and Huntington did the property, they moved the property line onto my property, even though my deed says I've got it, so we're playing games.
Okay. So just in terms of, because I would prefer to concentrate on the sales data here because we try to look at sales data for market value because your neighbor might be too low, right? We don't know. Maybe the town got your neighbor wrong. Your neighbor's taxes or your neighbor's assessment should be higher. We don't really know that if their house didn't sell. But if we look at the sales data, that's going to help me know how your house would sell in addition to having, these other hardships on your property, which is the turnaround, the easements in the back and all of that. So if we look at the 173, you did give me one sale, 173 St. Mortar that sold for $280. How is that house? The same, nicer, not as nice as yours? It looks like it's a case built in 1952. Living area is bigger than yours at 1,594 square feet.
Right.
You're at 1,075. The bedrooms, they've got one more bathroom than you do. You have a garage. Doesn't look like they have a garage.
No.
You've got the Zillow estimates on there, so I'm not sure why Zillow has you that much higher than the 173 St. Mortar, but that's Zillow, so we don't necessarily look at that. And then, so just tell me a little bit about the 173 St. Mortar.
Well, as you can see, I mean, they got a bigger piece of property than I do.
Okay, larger lot, yeah.
Not so much a lot, but
larger square footage
Square
home.
footage
How about
home.
the condition of the home?
That was just redone.
Okay, so it was just redone. Okay.
And I actually bid on that house, by the way.
Oh, did you?
And it was for $251. I mean, I bid on 173, 163, 203. The only one I got was the last one, and I had to pay more than I expected.
The 233 St. Mortar, but you bought it in 17, right, for 270?
Right.
Okay.
My daughter got into an issue with her boyfriend pulled a gun on her, so we ended up having to move her in quickly. And I paid a premium for that.
Wow. Okay, but you are 1,075 square feet, but you do have a garage. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the town has your garage. It's not an attached garage.
That's correct.
Town has your garage valued at $13,300, built in 2001, 90% good. And so you use your garage. It's a nice, and it's usable, right?
That's correct.
Okay, not arguing the garage at all. Okay. So that's how they came to the value. Okay, and so that would be the sales comp that you would use. You're at 341, and you want to go to 310.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I do see some markings on your card here for hardships. They put a condition factor on your house of 0.85 due to the topo. It says topo. So they have given you some adjustments on your land value to 250 because of the topography. I don't think there's anything here for the turnaround on the easements, so perhaps we could look at that land value as well when we're doing this.
And
you said 173 St. Mortar is all redone, and it's larger.
Well, they put the whole place.
And it's sold for $280.
Yes.
So why are you asking for $310?
Well, that was
January. So you're doing a little market inflation?
Well, I tried to be reasonable. I don't want to,
I know. I appreciate that.
You know.
Many people are not. So, I appreciate that. Their numbers come from, they don't take us, unless the market's gone up, right? So,
and
right.
I'm not saying I don't know what I could sell it for. I mean, if somebody offered me $310 for it now, I'd probably take it.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't have to get my daughter another place.
No, I hear you. Complications and all that. So, okay. So I think I got your story. That's very helpful.
The only other thing you might need to know is this: we're in litigation for about 1,000 square feet between
the other properties.
Other properties, right?
Okay. For the square footage of the lot.
And there was a slip and fall coming from Guyton.
Oh God.
From Guyton onto the easement, and Jim went, said, you own it, so you should report it to your insurance company. And Huntington says, there's a space, there's a problem. The town should actually own that piece of property. So we're in litigation about that.
Are you in litigation with the town as well?
No lawsuit came forth. I'm not against it. No, if the lawsuit came forth, it'd have to be.
For someone who slipped, that's why. Okay.
And then the bottom section is where in order to build that house at 271 Samp Mortar, they came onto the property about 15 feet, so that they could have the setbacks proper. That was McNo. That is in litigation.
Okay.
And do I sign this?
Oh, yes, please. I always forget to ask people. Yes, if you sign that I forward you in, I will take that and add it to the file here. And I appreciate you being fair in your request. And, I'll have the information, and I'm going to take a closer look the next time I drive it up to the merit.
Well, I can't build. I mean, if they establish this based upon lot sizes, you can't build anything more on that.
Right, because of the ledge.
Because even with the square footage, and then you're looking at if I did the investigation to see what's happening to Greenfield Hill, and since they're 2-acre zoning, you can't put anything more there. Then you've got the things. If you look, the second sheet there is across the street, and how those properties do sell and do have a much higher value.
I looked at one of those.
I wish I could afford one of those. But their property, their assessment went down, which is by 9%. And I'm having why did they go down?
Like I said, maybe they're too low.
Huh?
Maybe they're too low for the market. It's a mass appraisal, right? So it's mathematical formulas. We don't look at each individual house and say this and that. So something in the formula, put their land values at that dollar amount. I don't know what it was. We don't get into those details. The assessor's office does, but they could be too low, especially if they're selling for a lot higher than where they're at.
You're 40% off. I mean, your assessment.
Our board has the authority to raise them if we want to. So, some people say, I don't want to rat on my neighbors.
Well, I looked at a comparison. I'm not looking at...
trust me, we've had hundreds and hundreds who do that. They look at their neighbors and say, wait a second, why am I not where I'm supposed to be? And I try to get them back on track and say, because your neighbor might be too low, we may have gotten your neighbor, off by a bit. It's a curve, so some people are above the line and some are below. But we look at market sales. Like, what would your house have sold for on October 1st, 2020 if you had it on the market? And show me some sales data that proves that point. And that's how we try to operate as a board.
The second sheet then, because you'll see something that's sold for $600,000.
No, but the first sheet has the sales, right? But that's not a comp for you, right?
That's not a comp for me.
It's not a comp, so that's why we ignore it. People give us plenty of stuff, but they also give us really stuff that's low. That's not a comp for them either.
Well, I did tell Spiro about this. I don't know if Spiro was on the initial when this thing happened at the beginning to see, and he gets everything to use it or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
Have to see.
Thank you very much.
Well, hey, sorry for calling you in the hallway. Hope I didn't scare you.
No.
All right. Thanks. Come on in.
Hello.
Good morning.
Thought there was going to be a whole big board.
There's 9 of us, but we have 650 people to hear, so we divide and conquer. So, sure, if you're comfortable with COVID sitting there, if not, you can go all the way to the end of the table.
I had a shot.
I had one of my 2, so I'm comfortable with you sitting there as well.
Thanks.
So, yeah, I'm Kathleen Griffin. I'm one of the 9 members of the board, and I just want to let you know you are being recorded on that.
I'll try not to say anything nasty.
Good.
I'm Roland Zeleny, obviously.
Yes, and I'm going to just read some information in about your property and then ask you to say your name for the record.
Okay.
So to make sure we have the right person in the right room.
Sure.
So your appeal number is 332.
Mm-hmm.
Property address is 2452 Black Rock Turnpike. Owner of the property is JCR Fairfield LLC at 88%, and then there's another small percentage on there. The town has the property valued at $6,016,300, and you're requesting a reduction to $5,705,255.
That is correct.
Okay, great. And then I'm going to ask you to state your name for the record and whether you are the owner of the property or a duly authorized agent on behalf of the property.
So my name is Roland Zeleny. I am one of the owners, the majority owner, and I am duly authorized to be here representing the property.
Great. And then I'm going to have you raise your right hand, and then, yes. Do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, great. So now you can sign that sheet and hand it to me, and I will add it to your file.
Do you want me to print it also? Or?
No, we've got all your information at the top. That's why I just want to make sure we got the right person and the right appeal. We do. Okay, and now is your opportunity. You can have a seat if you like.
All right.
Now is your opportunity to tell me, provide testimony as to why you believe the value of the property should be reduced from the $6 million number to the $5.7 million.
Sure. So, property on Black Rock Turnpike has been there since 1985. I'm sure that within the last 20 years, but I believe since its existence, we've never come before the board and asked for any reduction in taxes. In the last year, we were offered the opportunities to defer taxes. We never did. We've always paid them on time. And so, we look at this as a partnership between our business, the town, and our tenants, many of whom have been there a long time.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have asked you first with these commercial properties because they're all in LLCs. Can you just tell me a little bit about the property, where on Black Rock Turnpike
Sure,
is
yeah.
your tenant?
I'm sorry. I was going to do that, and then I was like,
No, I should have asked you. With the houses, it's pretty obvious, and people give us their street address. They know exactly where they are. But
so when you're coming from Easton on Black Rock on Route 58,
yep.
You're going to pass the Merritt Parkway, and we're pretty much the first commercial entity on the left. You may know it as property that contains, or up until recently, contained Kindred Spirits Liquor, Lilac House Chinese Restaurant. Those are like 2 of the larger retailers there.
The coffee shop?
Yeah, there's a Donut Inn. There's
Yep. Okay, so it's that plaza.
That plaza, called White Birch Plaza.
What's it called?
White Birch.
White Birch Plaza. Okay.
Right.
And how many square feet do you have?
It's about 26,000. It's in the report, but that's about.
Good to get it in the record.
Yeah.
Okay, 26,000 square feet.
There's about 10 retail and about 10 office above it. So it's mixed use, 2 levels.
Mixed use, 2 levels. Okay, now I have a visual. Okay.
Sure. And so as I was saying, we've, I think, had a good history of cooperating with the town, not asking for tax abatements or asking for deferments up until this time. And I've talked to George Shawa, who's with Baldwin Pearson. He's done appraisals on the property a long time ago and is familiar with it. And he helped me a little bit with this particular report. I guess I'd draw your attention to page 6. Well, before we get to that, I would state that the town requires us to send information in pretty much every year, and this year I think, it initially came in June. So the situation in June, of course, was we were probably about 95% occupied at that time, with I think 1 or 2 vacancies in our offices, and things were going along pretty well. Of course, the pandemic came, and so we identified about half of our tenants that were, I would say, adversely affected, and we just voluntarily offered them 50% off on their rent for a couple of months.
Was that the retail or just the office space?
Mostly retail. I think there was a dentist that was shut down up in the office space, and I'm trying to think. There might have been whoever was just shut down by the state more or less, or was somehow adversely.
Right.
I would say it was like 50% of the tenants.
Okay.
Then things, kind of loosened up a little bit. Some of them were able to go back, like the liquor store and the UPS. Obviously, their businesses were doing well, and so the businesses that we felt were starting to generate revenue, we put back to full. Others, to this day, are still at half. For example, the cleaners, the hair salon, I think, and there might be one office guy upstairs. So then when this came up, we were quite shocked to see the initial valuation. And when we look at on page 6, the net operating income of the report, and you look at the last 4 years, pretty much since the last appraisal, you'll see that the NOI kind of bounces around, but hasn't changed much on average. In fact, in 2017, it was better than it was in 18, 19, and 20. And certainly the future looks worse.
Mm-hmm.
But so when you just look at it on an NOI basis, it's flat. And I guess you could say that commercial real estate over those years, the valuations had gone up, and my guess is primarily because the cap rates were falling. So we put together information that was available to us prior to October 1st, which we look at.
Hi, are you looking for Judy?
I called back to field room 3.
This is room 3. Did Catherine send you up here?
1252 Post Road.
I still have somebody in here, so let me see
My
if they're
apologies,
now.
we can wait outside.
Yeah, you guys have to wait. Just wait
Sorry about
downstairs.
that.
We're running a little behind. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No worries. So we just talked about how the NOI has been more or less flat over the last few years, but the future's going to decline for sure.
Okay.
But on page 5, the previous page, this is a rent roll of what things looked like prior to October 1st. So the last bit of information we had before this, or that we could use for this report. And if you look at the bottom, you can go through each of these individual. I made notes on the side showing what's happening.
Okay.
And essentially, we lost a couple of tenants. The biggest thing that's happened is we were notified that Kindred Spirits liquor store, which was like a real kick to my gut, because that liquor store was on the property before the plaza was even built, and it was a place that I worked at when I was 12 years old.
I like it in there.
Yeah. Used to be called St. Mortar Liquors. It was a little tiny place.
Are they
anyway,
moving out?
So, yeah. It was my parents. They might have, if you were old enough.
Pretty old.
Anyway, they notified, so that you would think that
their lease was up on, ended in January?
Yes,
okay.
And so we were notified,
okay.
They gave us some warning that they were moving, and they were the opposite of the victim of the pandemic. They're a
Right.
success story.
Right.
So their business has grown. I think they've done well there. That's the only location with a basement. When Pier 1 went out of business, which is in sort of the next big plaza
Right.
up, they applied for to move their license, which they were able to do, and notified us that they were leaving. So those folks alone represent like $95,000 a year in revenue.
Okay.
That's going away. So far, we haven't been able to fill it, and there's quite a few vacancies on
Right.
Black Rock Turnpike. Now, it is a nice location. It's an end cap. The other thing that makes me nervous is the fact that they drive a lot of traffic into that plaza, and all the other tenants are now nervous. And
Right.
as their stuff rolls around, who knows what's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
But I suspect they're going to be looking for some rollbacks. So that's kind of the scenario, along with.
There. Okay.
So really, we're looking at a situation where we were, I think this year, if you look at page 4, we could have actually, if the pandemic hadn't hit, bumped from like the mid-7s up to, say, 761. We were on a, slightly growing trajectory. It's hard to give increases, but we do give 1 to 2% a year, typically. And now we're looking at a scenario where we're going down to closer to 600,000. And with a lot of risk. There's quite a few people struggling upstairs and downstairs, so we just don't know.
Right.
So I tried to put together, best I could, if we go kind of I did some comps. The interesting thing about the comps is that, as you might imagine, there was a period where there wasn't a lot of activity in commercial real estate because people aren't out there beating the drums buying up commercial office space at the moment, as you can understand.
Mm-hmm.
So I used the best comps I could. Some of them were a couple of months
okay, so you
early.
just want to tell me what a couple of them are, and if they're in here, that's
Sure.
good.
So there's pictures and locations of each, and then
Elliott Place, I see. Main Street in Norwalk, is that the same one?
And George helped me with this because honestly, I don't even live around here anymore, so he helped me with this a little bit. But if you go to page 14, what we did is we put all these comps, 4 of them together, looked at their, the price they got per square feet and the market cap rate that was used and all of that, and we did adjustments on them. So if they were considered properties that would have sold for more than ours because of better location or whatever, they were, comped down a little.
Oh, Elliott Place sold in, I did not know that, in 2018. Okay.
Yeah. So at the bottom, you can kind of see we have this little matrix of
square footage. Okay.
Well, the adjustments, I guess you could call it, and it shows you, for example, the place in Norwalk we adjusted up because we didn't think it was as good of a location as our Black Rock Turnpike, so we gave it more value. Most of them, I guess, it's kind of a mix across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And George probably could explain this a little better than me, but so we came out essentially with the sales comparison valuation of $5,767,000, the income cap valuation of $5,540,000, the average was $5,653,000, and for some unknown reason to me, I put the wrong number into the thing I sent you, but it's pretty close.
Okay. So let me just see what
you can decide which one you want to use. I wrote down the $5,700,000. So that's the official one that I put in, and that's the one
you can change it. Everybody's changing theirs in their hearing. So if you want to go to 5,653, I'm happy to change it. Now's the time to do that.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. So you're going to change your value to $5 million. Can you round it to the nearest hundred for me? Because that's easier for the assessor. It actually doesn't matter. $5,653,517. It's okay. The commercials are doing this anyway. So $5,653,000. Okay, let me just change that on me.
And so,
5,653,517. Okay.
so just 10,000 feet, again, just to recap, the NOI in my mind hasn't really changed much over the last few years, but is now clearly going down, and will probably go down even lower than what was used in this report. The comparisons kind of give us pretty close for what we're looking for, but
right.
I suspect that going forward we might see that change as market caps might adjust up a little to reflect.
Right. And you used a market cap rate of 7?
Yeah, so the last page, there was a...
Sorry, I'm just hearing different numbers on depending on the style.
Yeah, I'm trying to find where I... Oh, okay, so for the NOI, I'm back again on page 6. I made a matrix that went from 7 to 7.5 on the cap rate. Yeah. And then I used, I showed the different, so for 2020, for example.
Okay, I see your cap rates there. So,
yeah,
okay.
And of course, if you look at 2021, it's much lower than what we're asking for right now.
Yeah.
So ultimately, even the 5.7 is $1 million, more than $1 million of what it was 5 years ago, with flat to declining NOI.
Yeah, I'm seeing 8. Some people are bringing in 8% cap. It depends on the business, but I'm seeing 8%.
Yeah, George thought that I was not trying to get greedy by asking for the 7 to 7.5. So that's my story.
Yeah, I agree with you. Some people are, nursing homes or whatever. I mean, those hotels are much higher, but still, I'm hearing retail in the 8 to 9. So yeah, you are being reasonable. So.
And if you guys want to go lower, I'm not going to object. Okay. I think the issue too is going to be, in a couple of years as the real numbers come in. So what's the deal on that? If I get an assessment, I can't do anything for 2 years, right?
Well, 5 years. Let me just read you the closing statement. So I'll present your petition to the board at deliberation session, and you'll be notified within 7 days of our decision. All decisions will be made in March, but probably April now because we're not going to finish. If your appeal is denied, you can come back next year. If you're granted a reduction, you cannot appeal until the next reval in 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So if you don't agree with our decision, you can take the next step, appeal your decision in court, and instructions on how to do so will be in your decision letter. I think you have to let the town know either within 30 or 60 days that you intend to go to court, which is the next step, which is to court. But no, what you get's good for 5 years. Okay. And that's the hard part with the COVID and the business is struggling is, what do we do now when we can't say, okay, we're only giving this for 1 year, next year we're going to raise you because the valuations are for 5.
Yeah. So I mean, if our business really goes down, we could be hurting. And there's nothing I can do about it, is what you're saying.
Fingers spirits, that's a nice little end there. Hopefully you'll find somebody.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully all the other people don't bail on me.
As well. I know. I stopped there often. I love that little store. So
well, thank you.
Nice
to meet you.
You're welcome. Nice to meet you as well. Thanks.
For us yet?
I am ready now. Thank
sorry
you.
about that.
No worries.
Yeah,
sometimes I have some phone ones, and sometimes she can't remember. Whatever. You got a lot of people coming and going from different rooms.
So why don't you sit closer?
So there's chairs here, there, wherever you're comfortable with COVID. I'm Kathleen Griffin. I'm one of 9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals. I'll be hearing your hearing today, and just want to let you know you are being recorded on this phone right there. So if your papers get too close, it gets very noisy for any members of the public who are interested in hearing live or afterwards. So the first thing I'm going to do is just state some information about your appeal and just let me know if there's any corrections. Your appeal number is 214, property address 1262 Post Road. The owner is LIG 1262 Post Road, Fairfield, LLC. Town has the property valued at $6,589,600. You're requesting a reduction to $4,100,000. Is that accurate?
Correct. Only one clarification. The owner is LJG 1262.
LJG. That came right out of our property record. So LJG. So it must be wrong on the field card somewhere, or in the deed, I don't know.
The change notice says LJG.
Huh, I wonder why this one says LAG. Maybe somebody retyped it.
It might be the way it was scanned in or the way you're, if that's a J.
I thought it was a mail merge from the property record card. But at any rate, close enough. Okay, LJG, and then I'm just going to ask you to tell your name into the record and whether you're the owner of the property or a duly authorized agent on behalf of the property.
John Greenspan with David Adam Realty. I'm an authorized agent for the property.
Okay.
And my name is Gary Klein. I am Mr. Greenspan's lawyer.
And you're an attorney. Okay.
I am.
And then since you're an attorney, you don't have to raise your right hand to be sworn in, unless you both are, but if you would like to join him in raising your right hand, I can swear you both, however you like. So, do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, great. So if you both could sign that sheet that Catherine gave you downstairs. Great, and then hand that to me and I'll add that into the file. Great, so now's your opportunity to provide testimony as to why you believe the appraised value on the property should be reduced to the $4.1 million number.
Great. Well, thank you for taking the time, and apologies that we came in a little early before.
No, we're on time. I'm just behind. Commercials we should have scheduled more time for commercials. It's taking longer than we thought.
I'd like to provide an exhibit into the record if that's acceptable.
We have something here. I'm not sure. It mostly looks like, there is a owner's market value analysis. This is something in addition to that?
Yeah, that's the same.
Okay. It's the same. Okay.
I mean,
if you have an extra copy, I'll take it, then I can take
a look
notes.
at that.
Don't have
There might have some few updates to it, but the same.
Oh, do you think it's been updated? Because if it has, I will ask them to put it in. Yeah, it's slightly
different.
I think it's slightly different,
switched it
not
to
just smaller. Okay, so this is new. Okay.
So the property is 1262 Post Road. It's the former post office building that was rehabbed and redeveloped in 2015, re-tenanted at that time.
Did you purchase it in 15 from the post office?
No, the current owner bought it a couple of years after that. Yeah, around 15 or 16. I don't have the exact date handy. Bought it with 2 new leases in place, one with a credit tenant and one with a restaurant that had a good operating history at other locations, and was optimistic. But unfortunately, as of October 20, and items were really caused pre-pandemic, the property's been a significant failure. The Be Fresh Market, which was open for literally, I believe it was less than 6 months.
I didn't even get in there. I know, I can't believe it.
It was just a shame. So they were, trying to. It was owned by Ahold, and they thought they were going to go after people coming off the train and getting prepared foods, and it just didn't meet what the market needed. They had success in other locations that were outside of Boston. They were much more commuter or closer in.
My niece shops there, and she loves it. She's like, what do you mean you don't have it in Fairfield?
But after an hour and a half commute from the city, it's the last thing you want to do. So that was a failure, and the restaurant was always struggling pre-pandemic, and we had numerous different defaults and eventually had an eviction judgment, and we're cooperating with the tenant to re-tenant the space. So effectively, you have as of October 120, a 0% occupied building. Be Fresh was out in 16, removed all of their information, so it was vacant for several years. They are credit tenants, so they are remaining, paying rent, but only through the end of their lease term.
They are still paying rent.
They are.
Okay. And when is their term with their lease up?
October of 2025. They have an above-market rent in place. We're working with both a sublease as well as direct lease to try to release the space, but it's a large space, over 10,000 feet.
Is it 10,000 square feet?
10,400 is the exact square footage plus basement space.
And it's dark.
And it's dark, yeah. So that's dark and everything's removed. As of October 1, 2020, even pre-pandemic, the restaurant was failing, as I said, and that's available for lease. We do have eviction judgment against them that we can get them out in 30 days notice. They've reopened just for takeout only, but it's effectively closed.
Are they paying rent?
No.
Okay.
We were able to get some past due rents, but from the people, but nominal. So they're $300,000 or $400,000 in arrears. So really, we've an empty building, although it's a newer building. It's still empty in a market where retail, as you know, is just struggling significantly. So we believe that based on leases proposals we've received, that market rent is in the 30 net range, or call it 45 gross. That may sound a little lower than some of the smaller space retail, but these are large spaces. The restaurant's 4,600 feet, and restaurants can only pay so much per month, and that's why restaurants typically are gravitating to 2,000-foot spaces and really packing in tables and outdoors and that kind of stuff. So it's a large space. Yeah. So we have a proposal from a very good operator that's a local operator that runs 3 or 4 restaurants right on the Post Road, and they said, hey, look, we love the space. We'd like to come in and try to make it work. The most we can pay is 30 net, and assuming the old real estate taxes, so it's really slightly lower than that with the fully loaded taxes. And then the Be Fresh market, again, 10,000 feet to get that type of size user, even if there is something out there. And then we're talking more service use or fitness, and it's not the boutiques that could get, certainly there's comps in Cleveland's property and other stuff, let's call it, in the 40s net, but those are smaller spaces, and that's why we think 30 net's appropriate.
30 net's appropriate for the Be Good space as well as the restaurant space?
Yes.
Okay.
Mostly we do the restaurant as a use, and then 2, the size of the 10,000 feet of vacancy.
Right. Okay. Is there parking back there?
There is parking.
Okay.
It's there was parking variances granted, so it's not a ton of parking, but there is parking. Mm-hmm. So the analysis we provided is a loaded cap rate analysis, something similar to what an appraiser would provide if we go to a full appeal.
Okay. And what cap rate are you using?
We used a 6.5 cap rate, and then we loaded it for 70% of the current mill rate. So the loaded cap rate, in appraiser speak, would be 8.375.
Okay.
So that analysis excludes real estate taxes and does it the way that.
And the vacancy rate, are you?
We used a 12% vacancy rate. So we're at 4.1 million. The town's at 6.589 million.
Mm-hmm. But you haven't tried to sell the property. You haven't really looked at value.
No, we need to. We need to re-tenant it. And I also, in the analysis, factored in the re-tenanting costs that brought it from a 4.5 million gross value to the cost of re-tenanting Plan B. I actually didn't even factor in the cost to re-tenant the other one because they don't pay term.
Leasehold improvements.
So that's how I got to the 4.1 million.
Plus broker.
Yeah, broker.
The broker. Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you have an informal hearing with Chris Kieran?
We did not.
We did not have an informal. Okay. Because he was talking with all of the, a lot of the commercial properties, if they request an informal to go through this and sort of, how do we deal with the pandemic, right? How do we make adjustments? But then, if we take you down, you're down for 5 years, which is great for you. So how do we, the way the assessments work, right, you're pretty good for 5 years. So it's tough to say businesses are going to recoup in a year or 2. Some are going to take longer than that. And how do we figure out where to put you that you're not too low for 5 years, but that helps you for where you are now? So that's the dilemma.
In the court scenario, I've never done it in a BAA scenario, but in the court scenario, we do phases, and where you get relief now, and then maybe if we land a tenant, maybe we see how that goes, but that has to be really have to sit down and scrub those numbers and see.
And that's usually done in the court process, right? I mean, the assessor's office.
In my experience, it's done that way because typically the town attorney can kind of do anything he or she wants at that point, right? But we prefer to try to get a fair number from you guys rather than have to go to court. But So
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
That's why Green's going to provide this analysis, because it's unique, because you have a dark grocery store, it's still paying rent, but it's empty.
Have you considered subdividing the 10,000?
Yeah, so we're marketing it in cooperation with the grocer. It depends on each tenant if they want to do a sublease or direct.
Right.
So yeah, we are offering.
Doing it as a sublease.
We are offering or direct, depends on the tenant. So we're making sure it's widely marketed. I think just one other comment would be that both Be Fresh's problems as well as Plan B were not pandemic related. All right. That said, as some of Gary mentioned, we do recognize that once we get it re-tenanted, and if it gets re-tenanted at higher rents, that there is some future value. But right now, it's at a point in time in this period, it's really almost a distressed property.
It's not like a gym, which is hurt because of the pandemic.
And you can't put a gym in there. You don't have the ceiling height or any of that to do.
We could, but then you're not going to do much better than 30 rents a lot for a gym to pay.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So there are uses. It's just going to be lower rent.
You're not going to get me my big lobster shack that I want with the big picnic tables and the red and white check tablecloths and crap. There is no good seafood. Like fish and chips. Like I think of Boston down on the waterfront.
Well, I think Lobstercraft is moving to the.
That is true. Lobstercraft is moving. I don't know how much space because they're mostly a takeout place.
Right.
But I'm thinking of like Glenny's and Brantford, on the creek there.
Right.
And there's just no place. We joined the yacht club just so we could eat on the water. Not that you have a water view where you are, but even so, people come and like, oh, where should we go for seafood? And I'm like.
So many of the waterfront restaurants are just lousy.
I know. It's too bad. I would love a great lobster place. But anyway, 10,000 square feet is probably too big.
A little too
much. Right. And we are with the operator for the restaurant space. One of their terms is conditional on getting additional outdoor dining space, which now post-pandemic, I think that could be easier to achieve. And it's been, it's
right.
There are some issues of how that space was built out. That across the street, you have Molto that's just spilling out in the street, and all the other restaurants in there now are very successful in brick and wood. And what's the other one? The new tavern, whatever it's called.
Yeah, the tavern in the back there.
Right.
Yeah.
So those have a lot of outdoor. They think they can make it work with reconfiguring the
more outdoor.
Yeah,
space.
More outdoor, which I think the town would be amenable. I'd be surprised if they weren't.
No, I mean we like to see businesses, in the buildings, right? We don't like to see the vacancies and all of that. And it was a beautiful building, and whoever, when they redid it, they kept a lot of the curb appeal, which was very nice, for the town, as opposed to.
It should have worked, and that's why the buyer was optimistic when he bought it. And then
I agree with you. I'm still trying to figure it out, and I never even got into Be Fresh. I was like, well.
Yeah, which is owned by Stop and Shop, which is owned by.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that. Yeah. And the Provisions place across the street, I don't know how they're doing the BP Provisions or whatever it is. They have a storefront there on the front, but that's not as big as the 10,000.
Didn't have to. I mean, it's a fantastic tenant, but.
At least they're paying you some rent, right? Like
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so that's the income. So we can pay our taxes, but it's not value, right? So that is true.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to add for the record? I will have this scanned in and uploaded, and attached to
That's it for me.
Online documentation. Okay, great. So I'm just going to read you a quick closing statement. That I will be presenting your petition to a majority of the board at a deliberation session for consideration and vote. You'll be notified by mail of the decision within 7 days of the decision. We were planning to make all our decisions in March, but we have 650 appeals, so we're going to be in April. If your appeal is denied, you can come back next year. If you're granted a reduction, you can't come back until the next reval in 5 years. And if you don't agree with the board's decision, you can take the next step, appeal your decision in court. Instructions on how to do so will be in your decision. I'm sure you've done that before.
Been there, done that.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Very nice to meet you. I appreciate your thoughtful analysis.
No.
Okay.
Looking
thank you.
forward to having tenants in that space one of these days before too long. If I have any ideas, I'll send them your way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kathleen Griffin. I'm one of the 9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals. You can have a seat right there in that chair if you're comfortable with COVID distance right there. Just want to let you know that you are being recorded on this phone right here. So if your papers get too close, it hurts the ears of the people who are listening at home. Yeah, so that's good.
Okay.
And I'm just going to read a few things into.
Do I leave this on?
Yeah, you can leave it on. Yeah. I'm just going to read a few things about the property in your appeal, and just correct me if any of it is incorrect. The appeal number is 412. The property address is 1280 Post Road. The owner of the property is Carmen Totora and Family Limited Partnership.
Yep.
The town has the property valued at $8,212,500, and you're requesting a reduction to an even $5 million. Is that accurate?
Yes, if it's the $5 million assessment. Or...
No, appraised, market value.
Okay, I might have misinterpreted
That's
that.
okay. That's why I want to get that corrected up front.
Yeah.
If that, in fact, that's
because I think I submitted something for $5 million. I'm assuming it's the assessed value, not the.
Okay, so we divide that
value.
by 0.7. Let's see.
I think it's call it $7 million or in that range.
Where's the calculator here? Calculator.
It's 7.1.
7.1.
That's what your previous. I think assessment was.
Okay, so the 7 million. Okay, and then I am going to ask you to state your name for the record, whether you're an owner or a duly authorized owner on behalf of the property, and then I'm going to swear you in.
I am Paul Michael Totora. I am a managing member of the Carmen Totora Family Limited Partnership. I'm an authorized officer, I guess, of the partnership.
Okay, and then I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand, and I'll swear you in. Do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, great. So if you can just sign on that top line, there's only one of you here, so I need to sign one line. I will take that from you and add it to the file. $7,100,000. Great. Okay, now's your opportunity to provide testimony as to why you believe the value should be reduced to $7,100,000.
Okay. I've prepared, call it a memo or letter and such, which I will submit. But I don't know if you want me to read that or
yeah, or you can
or just generalize it. I don't know what.
Generalize it for me. It's whatever you prefer in the tape, and also all of the documentation is put online. So anybody who wants to read more details certainly can.
Okay. I will. I guess start off with is I'm not quite sure how the town came to the valuation and what method of approach that they used, whether it be cost approach, income approach, or construction.
Okay.
I'm assuming income would be the most viable. And I guess my question would be is if they use the income approach, what assumption, lease-up type of assumptions did they utilize when they did the valuation and any adjustments thereafter? Or did they just capitalize the income, the NOI of the property based on whatever information they've received from the town to come up with the valuation?
Did you have an informal hearing?
No, I have not had an informal hearing.
Did not do okay, so you didn't speak with Chris Kieran back in January. He was speaking with a lot of the commercial properties. Not that that's going to help with the noise, but we close the door so that it can get the noise. Street cleanup day.
Yeah. So I guess if there's a way you can
generally
have access to that so you can discuss their methodology.
Sure. If you call the assessor's office or contact the assessor's office, he can best explain that to you because we pretty much just look at, the value that is provided and what number you come, why you don't believe it's correct.
And the important thing is when it was completed. So with thousands of properties, I can't imagine they did it reasonably.
Yeah, that's the date that they
What date?
October 1, 2020 is the value for the grand list, for the current Christmas.
Okay. And so I guess my issue is the valuation. If it has taken into account the COVID pandemic and the, as I call it, the Amazon effect, the online purchasing and delivery services that we have available to us today, and how that has impacted real estate. I'm a professional real estate, commercial real estate broker, so I'm quite familiar with it. So since COVID, the market has really been put at a standstill, and
I'm sorry,
probably right around.
I should have asked you first to describe here. I'm thinking
Yeah.
1280 Post Road. Can you describe the building for me?
1280,
How many square feet and where it is?
it's 26, according to the town records, it's 26,686 square feet.
Okay. Tenants and...
The tenants are First County Bank, the post office, 16 handles. That might give you some recollection.
Okay.
And such. We've owned the property for, I don't know, 35 years. Or so.
Is there office space on the second floor?
There's a retail level and second floor office.
Okay.
Mostly small professional medical tenants and such. So, and most of our tenants outside of the post office and the bank are small.
You had the bookstore in there for a while, didn't you?
We had the bookstore in there. We actually had TD Ameritrade in there. They have since left. I'm looking for tenants there. But the issue is the impact of COVID and the Amazon effect, the online purchasing, where it has truly impacted the retailer. So it's become, retail space has become more service orientated, and those are farther and few between. And the COVID has impacted us with regard to office interactions, and we see it with the Zoom calls and the telemed that, tenants, it's somewhat early now, but tenants are rethinking, and I state in my memo here that they're rethinking their office use and needs, and how they can utilize and cut costs down, and because they're not utilizing it the way it used to be. So in the next year or two, it's going to become more prominent and evident in our office leasing.
Okay.
With that being said,
how'd you come to the $7.1 million number?
That was your previous one.
You just want to go back to what you were. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
At minimum, I guess my biggest statement is I don't think the value of the property has increased. If anything, it has declined. So I think there's a decrease since the 7.1, but I'm not going to, we can argue that in more detail at another time. But it's, we're starting to see a lot of vacancies in town. And what I don't think at $8 million valuation, they're taking into the new rental rates.
But you think the 7.1 was accurate?
No, I think the 7.1 was your older one, and I didn't contest it at that time.
Okay.
Now I would contest it, but I'm not. I would probably contest it, but right now we have the 8.1 million.
You're dealing with, and a mill rate that's not going to go down. It doesn't
Correct.
Look like,
Correct.
From what I'm hearing, so staying in the budget presentation. Okay.
Rental rates, and in my statement here before used to be, this is for retail, $40 a square foot. But now the taking price is $32. It's it's
right. They have your land value at $3.8 million, right?
Yeah, that's arbitrary.
Okay.
I don't know how to come up with that. But
Yeah, I don't know on the commercial. I do know on the neighborhoods, but it's 1.37 acres.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But this property is going to be determined. The valuation is determined by the income production.
I believe so.
And
okay.
So we have all these. We have vacancies and lease-up time and rental concessions. that have to be taken into account that significantly impact a valuation. And the valuation isn't based on, it's typically based on a discounted cash flow over a 10-year period, not 1 year.
Right.
So
you have rental concessions in place right now?
You have rental concessions, you have shorter lease terms.
Okay. And that's what you have with your tenants now?
Correct.
Okay. And what's your vacancy rate in general since COVID? Are you?
Right now, it's funny, I have the vacancy, it's at 20, so call it 10% right now,
10%.
of which, that's current.
Right.
I have my second floor office, 50% of the tenants' leases are coming up in the next 12 to 18 months.
Right.
So I have to deal with that.
That's what I'm hearing, yeah.
So it's not just today, it's
right.
what the future.
Do you have 5-year leases in there, general, or?
You get whatever you can get, and most
so
tenants, and again, the tenants, I'm not dealing with national tenants, large corporation. Most of those are small professional. They don't want to commit long term because they don't know what the future is.
Well, and healthcare too is changing, right?
Yeah. So it's changing quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, another example is you have it valued, my property valued at $305,000, but $305 per square foot. If you look at the last comparable office building sale, it was at $196 a square foot. I listed 4 properties that are being marketed for sale.
Okay.
Only one is above $305. So, assuming those all close, and hopefully they do for their sellers, they're probably going to be significantly below their asking price.
Okay. Are they downtown, the 4 that you're referring to?
They're all prominent. These 4,
prominent locations.
Prominent locations,
okay.
Call it that. Downtown, if they're not for sale, I can't
right.
value it.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that. Yeah. Okay. So you're looking at.
But they're comparable. I mean, there's other commercial properties on the market that I don't consider comparable. These are small office, multi-tenant buildings, and such. So, the top price is $335 for something I just put on the market recently. One that's been on for 6 months is at $177 a foot. So if there is a sales comparison that drives also valuation, we should be well below the $305 that has been presented to us. So that's
right.
Basically.
Yeah, and I appreciate you having the letter here. We will definitely get that added to the file and on the online backup. And
you want it?
Yeah.
And then I have also our.
Yep. Yeah, they'll scan it in the office and add it to the. Because a lot of our deliberations are remote now because of COVID. So the board is actually deliberating from their home. So having all of the backup, online is helpful. Yeah. And it's in the record, so that's great. Okay, so if you don't have any additional questions, I'll just kind of read you my closing statement, which is that to thank you for presenting before the board, to let you know that I'll present your case before the board, majority of the board for a vote, consideration and vote. You'll be notified by mail of the board's decision within 7 days of our decision. We're supposed to make our decisions in March, but with 650, we're definitely going to be going into April, so we're going to have to ask for an extension. If you're denied, you can come back next year. If you're granted a reduction, you can't come back for 5 years until the next reval. And if you don't agree with the board's decision, you can take the next step, appeal your decision in court. And how to do so will be in the decision letter that you receive. I think you have to let the town know within either 30 or 60 days that you intend to take that next step in court. So.
You mentioned something about Kieran.
Chris Kieran. Mm-hmm.
And he's with the assessor's office?
No, he works for Municipal Revaluation Services, which is the firm that was hired by the town to do the revaluation. He, in the process, they do the reval, they come up with some numbers, they send the letters to everybody, and then in the months of December and January, the revaluation company will hold what's called informal hearings, where you can go in and talk to them about your specific property, ask for, discuss adjustments, talk about the influence of
COVID, and they will, because it's done by mass appraisal, so then they will give you a, they'll look at your property individually in your case, but then once the grand list is signed on January 29th of, this year, then they can't make any more adjustments. They're done.
Then it's up to you guys.
Now it has to be us and then to the court.
Okay.
So whether, Chris, because you didn't have an informal, whether the assessor, I
just don't understand why they don't share how it was valued. What method did they use?
He actually gave a really good presentation to the Board of Finance. I think it was last Tuesday night, maybe. It's on the internet, on the town website, or the assessor's office can point you to it. They can also talk to you about how it was done. But Chris was on for about 20, 25 minutes discussing how he valued commercial properties in general. He wasn't speaking to any one, but how they did it this year. So that might be helpful for getting you some information. Yeah. And the assessor can also speak to it as well. But, he was the commercial guy, and then Mike Fabio did all of the residential. So, yeah.
All right.
Well, they do it. We're just here trying to figure out, did they
they
do a good job or not, right?
Well, thank you very much. You were pleasant. I hope I presented okay. And
you did great. I appreciate
convincingly
it having me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Leave this open.
Oh, sure. That'd be great. Thank you. Good morning. Come on in. How are you? Good, thanks. How are you? Good. You can have a seat here, over there, here, wherever you're comfortable, most comfortable with COVID.
Want this open or shut?
I think you can close it, with the leaf blowers, it's enough noise. So, but one of you is welcome to sit here. I just wanted to let you know, you are being recorded on this phone right there.
Okay.
And I'm Kathleen Griffin. I'm one of 9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals, and I'm here to hear your appeal. And I'm going to read a few things into the record and just correct me if any of it is wrong. So, appeal number is 333. Property address is 4975 Black Rock Turnpike. Owner of the property is Aquarian Water Company. The town has the property valued at $45,240,200, and you're requesting a reduction to $32,500. Is that accurate? Okay. And then the next thing I'm going to do is confirm who you are and how you're related to this. So if you could state your name for the record, and then say whether you are the owner or a duly authorized agent on behalf of the owner.
Okay. I'm Dan Finnegan. I'm a duly authorized agent. I'm an attorney representing Aquarian.
And I'm Sean Salato, manager of real estate at Aquarian Water Company. You're the manager of real estate. Okay. And are you an attorney? I am not. Okay, so I just need you to raise your right hand. The attorneys don't have to be sworn in. I think they already took their oath after they passed their bar and everything else. So if you could raise your right hand, they'll swear you in. Do you solemnly swear that the information you so give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. Okay, great. So if you both could sign that sheet and hand that back to me, then we have in the record that you were here and here. Normally everybody has to come. During COVID, we've been doing some phone
right.
One.
Yeah.
But statute requires people to appear. Okay, so now this is your opportunity to provide testimony as to why you believe the valuation should be reduced to the $32,500,000.
Okay, we have a handout.
Okay. And that has not been in the record yet?
It has not been in the record yet, and I have 4 copies. Do you want all 4?
Sure, why not? I'll have to take one home, and if you need, you guys have one.
Yeah, we have it. And this is just a, it's not a full-blown appraisal, obviously, but evaluation analysis done by Duff and Phelps.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me just put scale numbers on place, 2 of them. One right on there for now. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so this analysis pretty much lays out our position, so maybe the most efficient way to do it is just kind of to walk through it, and I can point out a few things.
Dan Finnegan, you said, right? I don't have your name on the sheet here.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so if you just turn over to that first page there, that's labeled page 2. This is just an introductory page. The property that we're dealing with is a water treatment plant over on the Black Rock Turnpike. It's rated, as it states at the end of that first paragraph up there, at 50 million gallons per day. And you can see just in the table on that page the true and actual value history with the assessments. And you can see in 2010 it was valued at 35 million, 2015 33, but there's been a pretty significant jump in 2020 up to 45 million. So it's about a 34% increase in value in the last year. And nothing has changed at the plant in between the 2015 and 2020 valuation. There has been some capital expenditure, but it's, as we'll see later on in the presentation, primarily just been in the nature of maintenance type items.
And so is this is like this isn't just the open water, it's a plant, or it's a
plant. And what we're dealing with here are the real property components of it. So there's a big building, there are some water tanks, there's an underground tank, and there's other real property components.
In addition to, but it also includes the open,
the reservoir.
The acreage includes the, reservoir.
Yes.
I was going to say, you don't have a 21-acre.
Right. And we're not, there's no dispute, as you'll see in this analysis, over the land values. Duff and Phelps just accepted the land values that the town put on the property. It's just the improvements, the real property improvements.
And did the land value change significantly? No.
No.
Okay.
And
so
it's a small piece of the valuation. If you turn over to the next page, page 3, you can see that what Duff and Phelps did here was a cost approach, and I think that there's agreement with the town on this from what I can discern from the property cards. It looks like that everyone agrees that a reproduction cost new less depreciation is the way to value the facility. On this page is a summary of the cost approach that Duff and Phelps came up with. And Duff and Phelps, you'll see at the bottom of that summary, has a rounded value in this analysis of just over $31 million. The components.
And Duff and Phelps that's not your.
No. I'm sorry. Duff and Phelps is a valuation firm. They're actually more than that. They're a financial services company. They're based out of Texas, but they're international in scope. They do this kind of stuff all over the world, and they have a particular expertise in valuing utility property, which this is. This is a water utility that owns this facility, and Duff and Phelps does these types of analysis for utilities, as I say, all over the United States and all over the world. If you turn to the next page, page 4, this is where I think we're going to get into what kind of is driving the difference between the town's value and the value that Duff and Phelps came up with. This is the first step, obviously, in the RCNLD analysis is to come up with the cost of reproduction new. And what Duff and Phelps did here is they took the original historical cost, which you can see in the chart there. 1997 is the year that this plant went into service. So that's the year that construction was finalized and it went into service. So they took the original historical cost for each year, and then they used the Handy-Whitman Index of Public Utility Construction to trend the costs up to October of 2020, which is the valuation date. I can tell you just from experience, I represent utilities in various states around New England. Handy-Whitman is kind of the standard. That's what all appraisers I have experiences with use when they're engaging in this type of exercise. So you can see in the last column there, the cost new of reproduction, and you can see that it's a total of $63 million that Duff & Phelps comes up with. 90% of that value, the $57 million, you can see is up there in 1997, the first year. So that kind of underscores what I was saying previously. There have been capital expenditures at this facility, but the overwhelming majority of what we're talking about here as far as the real property improvements were in place back in 1997.
And mostly it's been maintenance costs.
Right, exactly. It was maintenance type of costs since that time. The property card has a reproduction cost new of just over $73 million. So again, that's why I said I think a lot of what's driving the discrepancy here in values at the end of the day is the difference in the starting point of the reproduction cost new. Property card has $73 million. Duff & Phelps came up in their analysis with $63 million. So there's a $10 million discrepancy right there at the starting point.
So say that again for me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, here.
I'm talking a lot of utilities, but I think I have it. No,
yeah.
You said the differences in the cost reproduction new. No, it's the 63. I know what number you're talking about.
Right, yeah.
The town has you at 73.
Right, and that's
63, but what's that called again?
Well, that's just the trended cost, I guess you could say.
Difference in the trended cost.
Yeah, the difference in the trended cost. So that is the cost that the appraisers are saying it would take to reproduce that plant today. If you built this plant in October of 2020, Duff & Phelps says it would cost you $63 million to build what's there today, and the town is saying it would cost you $73 million.
Okay. And you don't know if that's based on we use depreciation codes in the real estate,
Right, but this is prior to applying any depreciation.
Okay,
that's
this
just
is prior to depreciation.
Right, that is just the cost to reproduce the plant today.
Okay.
And then, so once we have that figure, the $63 million, then if you turn the page, then Duff & Phelps gets into the depreciation. And as you know, you have the three types of depreciation: physical depreciation, functional obsolescence, and economic obsolescence. And they look at all three. They look at on the physical depreciation side. You can see that what they come up with for a remaining useful life when you look at all of these lives is they come up with, it's the last column, last number there, 39 years. And you might say, well, look, in 2020 you see some 59, 57s, but again, 90% of what we're talking about was in place back in 1997. And that stuff only has 37 years left. So the 39 is warranted, it's weighted, just because these little amounts that you see in the out years, again, we're talking like a couple $100,000 here, a couple $100,000 there, so they're not large amounts. So they conclude that 36% physical depreciation was warranted for this facility. And they'll carry that through. Maybe it's easy to, we can go back to page 2, you'll see. Page 3, where they had their summary. Mm-hmm. You can see it. There's the math right there. So they start with the $64 million that they came up with to reproduce it. They have the physical depreciation at 36% of that, which is the $23 million. Subtract, and they're down to the $40 million. They then look next over on page 6 to see if there's any functional obsolescence, and they conclude that there's not at this facility. So that's not a factor. That's a 0.
That's good to hear for all of us.
Yeah, right. We don't have to worry about that one. You can throw that aside. And then, and then we come down to the economic obsolescence, which is obviously the trickiest piece of it. But again, there is economic obsolescence, they conclude, and the reason for that is they look at the in-utility which is always a confusing word to me, but they look at the inutility that exists on the property. And what they mean by that is, if you look at this table, you'll see in the top left that the maximum capacity that this was designed for was to process 50 million gallons of water a day. That's up there in the top left. It doesn't do anything close to that. And
because it can't, or because there's just not the demand for
there's just not the demand for it. And you can see they've listed out here 2004 to 2020, and they list the total gallons processed in each of those years and come up with a daily average. And then in the little chart, they look at slices of that, 6 different slices of that, to compare against the 50 million gallons that it's designed for, and they find an inutility of 35% as a result of that.
Inutility?
Yeah, in utility. It's lack of use is an easier way, probably just think of it.
Being used, okay.
Yeah, it's just not being used to its full capacity.
So I do see, I'm just curious, I see that, a steady decline in the numbers. Hopefully people are conserving water more, or, maybe we haven't need sprinklers as much. But then 2020, it jumped up to 25. That must be people home from COVID.
Yeah, it's probably COVID related.
Right?
That has affected our numbers.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Drought-like conditions too. There's been, those affect our numbers as well.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so they come up with this 35%. They had a range in their indicators between 33 and 38, so they pretty much take the middle at 35%. And if you go back again to the summary on page 3, you can see the math there. They took the 40 million, they applied that 35% economic obsolescence to it, and that results in a little over 14 million for the figure that they use for the economic obsolescence. So,
did the assessor take the economic obsolescence in?
The assessor does.
Sure? They do. Okay.
Does use economic obsolescence. I will say, and this is a lawyer talking, not an appraiser. My non-scientific method here, if you look at the total depreciation of all types that the assessor came up with, it was about $33 million. And the total depreciation that Duff and Phelps came up with is very close. It's about $32 million, I believe. So it's again, I think what's really driving the difference is that starting point, the reproduction cost. New.
It's reproduction cost. Okay.
That's
and you think that changed from 2015, or you're not sure? You didn't pull the cards for 15?
It had to have changed for 15. Sean, I don't know if you have it, but
yeah. Bring that with me.
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay. Wait, they have it in the office down there.
Right.
Get us a copy of that. And did you have an informal hearing? Did you go before?
Yes.
You did have an informal hearing.
Okay, and then so the conclusion is just on the last page, and again, you can see what this does is this is, again, just looking at the fair market value, not at the...
I'm not sure. I didn't even start the recording. That's interesting. Okay. Tells me the recording has started, so I guess it is, and the green light is on.
Okay.
I didn't press the normal buttons to make that happen, so I don't know. Anyway, okay. So now I lost my train of thought, so I think I told you who I was. And then I'm just going to read some information into the record about this appeal.
Okay.
So this is appeal number 212. Property address is 541 Kings Highway Cutoff. The owner of the property is Home Depot USA, Inc. The town values the property at $21,428,300, and you're requesting a reduction to $20,450.
$20 million.
I mean, what am I saying? Did I say 21 million? $21,428,300. Requested reduction to $20,450,000.
Correct.
Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to ask you to do is to state your name for the record and whether you are the owner, which if you are, you're very lucky, or you're an authorized agent on behalf of the owner.
My name is Michael Maiano. I'm with Marvin F. Poor & Company in Boston, and I am the authorized agent for Home Depot.
And are you an attorney?
No.
No. Okay. I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand, and I'm going to swear you in. Do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, great. So if you could just sign in the middle there for me and hand that over, I will add that to the file. So weird about that.
What is the date today?
The 22nd, I think.
Yeah. Wow.
I know it's spring. Can you believe it? And I'll sign on the bottom there for you. So that's it. So
do you need this?
Yes, your authorized letter. Yes, I do. Thank you. So now is your opportunity to provide testimony as to why you believe the value of property should be reduced to the amount that you are requesting.
Okay, thank you. We represent Home Depot in the New England states, and pretty much we have a way of looking at these things. And then of course this year with the COVID situation and the assessment date being October 1, we gave these a little extra special attention, and the way these are typically looked at is generally on an income approach. And I believe we sent in our income model. Hopefully you have it.
I'm going to look at the file right now.
Yeah, hopefully you have that in the record.
I've got something more than just your letter, so yeah.
Yeah, and I believe where probably we're going to be differing with the model that was used on this for income purposes is probably in the rent. We used an $18.50 rent, and we believe that our a standard 5% vacancy and credit loss, a 10% expense factor, and plus we did add a 1% reserve to this, so actually we're using an 11% expense factor, and we used a cap rate of 7.5 against the net operating income, and that's where our number of $20,450,000 is generated, or $209 a square foot. And I think, as I said, where we're probably going to be different is the estimate of market rent, and we strongly feel especially for this year, that properties like a Home Depot or a Lowe's or a big box, it's kind of a hybrid warehouse retail, but it's certainly not your typical retail, and those rents arguably can probably in this area run in the 20s to low 30s, the $30 per square foot. But basically, we're looking at this as a home improvement. Like I said, it is retail, but basically it's a warehouse type of construction. And we think that our rent of $18.50, given the situation, is more than fair. It still would represent a 17% increase over the last valuation. Although the question is, what's the property worth on October 1? So the percent increase is really not probably very applicable to the discussion, except for we did notice that. Obviously, the opinion that's put on the value for proposed assessment purposes is a 23% increase, and Connecticut is on a 5-year cycle, but we do feel that in the past 5 years, especially given that the brakes were kind of put on everything this past year, that a 17% increase is probably more in line with reality for that property type.
Do you typically use 1850, or is that just with COVID?
No, it's probably a range, and these things probably range anywhere in Fairfield County from a low of 15.5 up into the low 20s. But with this particular store, because we also represent a couple of other properties that we didn't appeal that are right over there. And so we have a pretty good handle.
So you own like the CVS? Is that your plaza?
No, not CVS, but Edge Fitness is one of them, and Bed Bath and Beyond. We represent those for Ceruzzi. We represent Ceruzzi's home offices up on Post Road. But this is the only one that we filed an appeal on. And as I said, it is retail, but basically it's warehouse, unfinished interior construction, and that's why we feel that the 1850 rent is applicable to this property.
Okay. So you're asking for $1 million.
Well, basically it's 978.3. Or 4.6%.
$21 million property. Okay.
Yeah.
And that, again, is based on the 1850 rate.
Yeah.
5% vacancy, 10% expense factor with a 1% reserve, 7.5% cap.
Yep.
Or $209 a square foot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else? We will add this to the record. Is there anything else you want to add? Or?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. As I said, the cost approach on this property. I've been representing this property for quite a while, and this is actually a little history to this. This was one of the first properties that they actually bought out their lease. That was a build to suit originally, way back when they first came into the market in the early 90s, and they actually ended up buying out the lease, and they actually paid a premium at the time. And unfortunately, that sale has been used in more court cases and more appeals in Lower Fairfield County. We actually had an appeal up in Danbury one year, which technically is in Fairfield County.
Price? Is that why
but the sale was raised in that particular appeal.
So low.
Well, no, the sale price was high.
Oh, sale price was high. I see.
Yeah, no, we feel it was.
Oh, the defendants were using it. I see.
Yeah, and I also would say that, admittedly, that the Fairfield store is one of the higher performing stores in their portfolio.
I can walk there from my house.
Yeah.
I think we go there more than we go to the grocery store.
Yeah, and
we bought a fixer-upper. That's part of the reason, but still.
There and Norwalk also performs pretty well, but they have the parking deck, which.
Yeah, this is not the biggest of the homes.
No, but this isn't, and it's pretty busy, and I pretty much took up enough of your time. But
no, what's the square footage on the building? I usually ask.
I think we have a net leasable of 98,056, but I think the gross building area, if you add in like some of them have vestibules and things like that, I think the city's record shows 98,454, but. I went back to the original lease, and the net leasable area in that lease was 98,056. Okay. And typically they don't include garden center or the vestibules when they do the lease discussions.
Got it. Include the garden center. I like the garden center.
Yeah, it's pretty going to be pretty busy this coming weekend if the weather's still.
Isn't that crazy? Nice. Yeah. I know. Spring, finally. People need, we've been asleep for a year, right? It's time to wake up. We didn't get to wake up last summer. So, all right, if there's nothing else you want to add, I'm sure you've heard the spiel before, but I will present your case to a majority of the board for deliberation and vote. You'll be notified by mail of the board's decision within 7 days. Mm-hmm. We were supposed to make all our decisions in March, but with 650 appeals, we will be going into April. For sure. If your appeal was denied, you can come back next year, and if you are granted a reduction, you can't come back for 5 years. And if you don't agree with the board's decision, you can take the next step and appeal your decision in court. Instructions on how to do so will be in your decision letter.
All right.
Great.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
For the morning, so thank you.
Okay.
I had a aquarium before you, like I said, Home Depot. It's been a nice site, a restaurant that it's been closed for a couple of years. That's the harder one to work. So good that your business is good.
All righty.
All right. Thank you. Have a nice trip back to Boston.
This is Kathleen Griffin. It's 12:15 p.m. on Monday, March 22nd. This concludes the Board of Assessment Appeal hearings in room number 3.